The Emperor of Work begins with Conan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 Conan's Decision 1. As soon as he finished speaking, Toyama Tobi noticed that Conan began to look around and immediately saw what Conan was thinking. Want to call the police? Toyama Tobi smiled meaningfully, joking that he was a double agent of the Black Organization and the Metropolitan Police Department, so how could he not make a comprehensive plan before taking action? It takes at least 10 minutes for the nearest police station to the Beaker Library to receive the alarm information and rush to the library. In these 10 minutes, Toyama Tobi said this and looked up at the lights on the 6th floor. These 10 minutes are enough for our director Jin to deal with a few elementary school students who have little ability to resist, right? Drug dealers have always been synonymous with cruelty and madness. Generally, when criminals encounter such a situation, where the police will arrive soon, they will probably drop everything and run away at the first time. But drug dealers will not. Before leaving, they will do the last thing, that is, drag as many people into the water as possible. Because they know very well that, if they are caught, they will definitely not have a good end. That's why there is this last madness. With Toyama Tobi's analysis beside Conan, the anxious Conan also calmed down. After looking up at the lights on the 6th floor, Conan looked at Toyama Tobi. Tell me, what do you want? If you can say that, it means there must be a backup plan waiting for me. What will I have to pay for you to save them? Toyama Tobi seemed a little surprised by Conan's calm attitude. He thought Conan would either scold him and then rush into the art gallery with his courage. In the end, he would save the danger with the protagonist's halo. Or he would collapse and beg for help, hoping that he would save the 3 white-faced people. I didn't expect that Conan could see Toyama Tobi's subsequent plan to a certain extent. The old saying, that suffering a loss is a blessing, is not entirely wrong. As the saying goes, one learns from one's mistakes. The main thing is not to fall in the same place a second time after suffering a loss. In terms of Conan's intelligence, his IQ is undoubtedly high, but his EQ is questionable. The main thing is that Conan's EQ is really hard to understand, and it fluctuates up and down, and is unpredictable. So it is obviously difficult to control Conan with the same routine. Fortunately, Toyama Tobi has many tricks, except for many other good ones. There are a lot of them. After reading Conan fanfiction for so many years, the tricks of this bunch of imaginative online writers are enough to trick Conan to death. So Toyama Tobi is only happy to see Conan's growth. What's the point of the silver bullet? It would be most effective to directly send a silver nuclear bomb to the organization. Our Toyama Tobi is loyal to the organization and even does not hesitate to make the world the enemy. You say the organization does not want to be the enemy of the world? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I'm ready to be the enemy of the world. If you say you don't want to, then I will help the organization to be the enemy of the world. What is outstanding subjective initiative? Gin and Rum are so lucky to have a subordinate like me. Toyama Tobi thought happily and gave Conan 2 options. It's not what I want, but how can a primary school student like you be so mercenary? Our good people are here to help others without asking for anything in return. Toyama Tobi looked at Conan with disdain. The main thing is that you, Conan, are useless except for giving me enough pleasure as a genuine informant of the Metropolitan Police Department. I, Toyama Tobi, naturally cannot sit idly by and watch a drug dealer attack the flowers of the motherland. But Conan listened attentively, and he treated the previous words as farts by Toyama Tobi. It is estimated that the focus of Toyama Tobi's words will all fall on this but you know me, I don't come from a good family, and I'm not careful when I'm doing something. This is especially true for human traffickers who are wanted by everyone. So if I save people, Atsuko or Hideki will definitely not survive. I think this goes against your detective creed. Toyama Tobi said to Conan with a sincere face. I have always respected others the most. I treat even elementary school students equally. So whether you want me to save your classmates is up to you. Toyama Tobi pointed to the lights on the 6th floor of the library and said, but you'd better make a decision quickly. Otherwise, I'm not sure how long your classmates can hold on. Just when Toyama Tobi was about to wait for Conan to hesitate for a long time, he unexpectedly saw Conan looking up and looking at him. Go save them. What? I said I choose to let you save them. Conan's tone was calm, and there was no ups and downs in his words. He just looked at Conan calmly. Interesting, really interesting. Toyama Tobi really didn't expect Conan's choice to be so decisive. However, such changes are exactly what Toyama Tobi wants to see. A world that remains unchanged is meaningless. The more changes there are, the greater the impact of Toyama Tobi's little butterfly flapping its wings. It is worth Toyama Tobi's trip to this world. After getting Conan's answer, Toyama Tobi did not hesitate and walked to the main door and broke the door violently. The sound of the glass shattering at the library door was particularly obvious in the night sky. Even Tsukora Hidegi on the 6th floor was startled. What the hell? Tsukora Hideji's first reaction to the loud noise was that this was a library, not a bank. There was no reason for the rice flour gangsters to come to his place to rob him. Then he remembered that he had an appointment today. Tsukora Hidegi looked at the 6th floor full of bookshelves with hatred. These three damn little ghosts were too good at hiding. He was simply set up by these little ghosts. But it doesn't matter, his helper has arrived. As long as the guy downstairs comes for money, Tsukora Hidegi has 100 ways to drag him down. Yes, 100 ways. After all, Hidegi Tsukora is the director of the Beaker Library and is also a cultured person. Hidegi Tsukora was very decisive and locked the door of the children's area on the 6th floor from the outside. The only way to get to the staircase from the children's area is through this door. If Hidegi Tsukora locked the door, it means that if the kids want to escape, they can only jump from the 6th floor. So Hidegi Tsukora took the elevator to the 1st floor to meet with Toyama Tobi. While taking the elevator with the corpse he made on his head, Hidegi Tsukora complained about Toyama Tobi's behavior downstairs. The most important thing in their line of work is to be low-key. Do you understand low-key? It's really rude to smash the door directly when you meet for the first time. However, it was this reckless behavior that made Hidegi Tsukora relax his vigilance against Toyama Tobi. If someone with a brain came over, Hidegi Tsukora was worried that he would not be able to control himself. Hidegi Tsukora likes such a brainless reckless man very much. As the elevator descended floor by floor, Toyama Tobi also slowly walked to the elevator door on the 1st floor. Chapter 77 Cherish life and stay away from treasure hunting. As the elevator slowly reached the 1st floor, the elevator door slowly opened in anticipation of Toyama Tobi. The old face that was revealed was indeed the old face that Toyama Tobi was too scared to go to the toilet when he was a child in his previous life. Fuck. Childhood shadows are childhood shadows after all. This old face that looks like nothing really scares Toyama Tobi again. But Toyama Tobi in this life is different from the previous life. In this life, Toyama Tobi received very professional training from the Black organization, and it was the kind of training that required death if he failed to complete it. So Toyama Tobi's subconscious reaction was quite real. Other people would at most beat up the staff when they were scared in the haunted house. Then the staff would happily receive their 3rd salary for the month. Toyama Tobi's stress reaction was to subconsciously send the folding knife in his hand to Tsukora Hideji's carotid artery. With a light stroke, a human fountain appeared immediately. It seems that Toyama Tobi will have to say goodbye to haunted houses with NPCs in this life. With this stress reaction, the original theme of A Way Out was seamlessly connected to Deus Ex. Then the NPC took over the script of A Way Out that originally belonged to Toyama Tobi. Damn, I was careless. I was planning to have a verbal fight. Toyama Tobi was a little annoyed. Tsukora Hidegi is a well-known early practice boss in Conan's fanfiction. Facing such a popular character, most fanfiction works have to interact with him. When it came to Toyama Tobi, not only was there no interaction, but there was not even the verbal fight that readers loved to see. With just a light stroke, Toyama Tobi gave up the small explosion point of the fanfiction. No wonder your book is not popular and your popularity is not high. Chunchan deserves it. Conan, who had been following behind Toyama Tobi and observing the whole process, had a big question mark in his heart. He just watched all the expressions and movements of Toyama Tobi without missing a single glance, especially the moment he saw Tsukoi Hideki. Toyama Tobi was clearly frightened. No, some people in this world are afraid of ghosts, some are afraid of monsters, but Toyama Tobi, a serious member of a criminal organization, is actually afraid of an old man! Exclamation mark. Conan's reason told him that there must be something wrong with his reasoning, but his intuition told him that his reasoning was correct. This wave of operations by Toyama Tobi really made Conan unable to handle it. Toyama Tobi, who subconsciously missed the explosive point, looked at the messy death scene in the elevator with disdain. It seemed that it was a retribution from the dark that made Tsukoi Hideki die in this elevator, that he used to hide the body. At this moment, 2 bodies in and out of the elevator made Toyama Tobi not want to take this unlucky coat again. So the 2 of them walked through the fire escape all the way to the 6th floor and forced open the door outside the children's area on the 6th floor. Ayumi, Mitsuhiko, Genta. Are you okay? Conan. It's Conan who came to save us. Yoshida Ayumi was the first to react and then rushed out directly from the corner. From Yoshida Ayumi's embarrassed little face, it can be seen that they really didn't have a good time just now. Of course, Toyama Tobi knew that this would not teach the Beige Trio any lesson. This kind of experience would at most make them frightened for half a night. Yes, half a night. Because they need to sleep for the other half of the night and get enough energy to do better tomorrow. The embarrassed Ayumi excitedly threw herself into Conan's arms and then burst into tears. Seeing this scene, Toyama Tobi had a hit expression on his face and then took out his mobile phone to take pictures. What is this? The MVP settlement screen after the game. That's not right. Conan didn't participate in this incident. According to Toyama Tobi's dialogue with the trio, the MVP this time should be Mitsuhiko Tsuburaya. Just when Toyama Tobi looked at Mitsuhiko Tsuburaya, he clearly saw that Mitsuhiko, who wanted to run towards Conan and Ayumi, was petrified on the spot. The heartbreaking sound could be heard even from Toyama Tobi, who was quite far away. Toyama Tobi kept shaking his head. Kid, accept your fate. Didn't the ladies who were saved in ancient times tell you clearly? If you look good, you have to marry her, and if you don't look good, you will be married in the next life. Anyway, don't worry about this life or the next life, you can forget about marrying her. Conan, who was comforting Yoshida Ayumi, was secretly happy. Who could refuse a little girl throwing herself into his arms with tears in her eyes? But when Conan heard the click and click sounds beside him, he felt terrible. Is there anything more tragic in this world than being caught cheating? That might be someone taking a photo of you cheating. Who knows what kind of exciting development will unfold in a Japanese movie. Conan now at least needs to thank Toyama Tobi for not being a priest and not being interested in little boys. After taking such a touching scene, Toyama Tobi called the police. More than 10 minutes later, Sato Miwako led the team to the Beaker Library. Under Toyama Tobi's instructions, in addition to the body of Tsukoi Hideki in the elevator, the body above the elevator was also collected. Then Toyama Tobi took a ride from the Metropolitan Police Department and returned to the Investigation Division 1. When Officer Megia, who was still working overtime in the Investigation Division, heard that this incident was caused by these kids not going home obediently, he silently called the parents of the Shiraku trio. Officer Megia didn't know what to say about the combination of Conan and the Shiraku trio. Other children are naughty and at most accidentally break the glass of other people's houses or break something. But they are different. Being naughty is the naughtiness of children, but every time they are naughty, they will trigger some incredible chain reactions. Last time, their treasure hunt game encountered an Italian robber group. This time, they encountered drug dealers in Biko Town. This is not a treasure hunt game. These elementary school students are playing a bounty game here. The parents of the Shiraku trio arrived soon, and in front of their parents, Officer Megia solemnly suggested that these children were not suitable for playing treasure hunt games. Officer Megia's suggestion made the frightened parents follow suit. This group of parents are more grateful to Toyama Tobi, the young man who saved their children's lives twice. Life-saving grace, twice. The parents hurriedly asked the trembling children to thank Toyama Tobi. Seeing that these children finally showed signs of fear, both Inspector Megia and the parents felt a little relieved. It's good to be afraid. This way, these little kids won't mess around next time. Little did they know that they were not afraid of this incident. They were clearly afraid of Toyama Tobi. When going downstairs, the beige trio saw the tragic scene in the elevator. Even Yoshida Ayumi, who was the most obsessed with looks, shrank back when facing Toyama Tobi's kind smile. Before the police arrived, these little kids turned into excellent elementary school students. Each of them was incredibly well behaved. Chapter 78 is just as such an inconvenient thing. The beige trio is the perfect interpretation of the phrase bullying the weak and fearing the strong. If you talk to them nicely, they are just children, so be gentle to them. These little ghosts, especially Koji Magenta, will dare to glare at you. As long as you show them a good face, Koji Magenta will dare to ask you to treat them to a meal. How annoying when adults say, let's have dinner together another day. It's just a polite way, but it's not the same for them. They are not shy at all. The fear of the beige trio towards Yuanshin Tobi is a good thing for him. In his previous life, Yuanshin Tobi hated the naughty children of his relatives, and such disgust will not change because of a time travel. Moreover, in Yuanshin Tobi's eyes, the beige trio is no different from the naughty children of his relatives. It is undeniable that the beige trio does have some shining points sometimes, but a bad guy doing a good thing cannot change his nature as a bad guy. The few shining points of the beige trio in the past 20 years cannot change Yuanshin Tobi's view of them. It's also good to let these little ghosts keep this fear of themselves. You seem to dislike Genta and the others? It was still the road that Toyama Tobi took Conan home. This was the second time Toyama Tobi had taken Conan home. Of course, it was foreseeable that this would happen many times in the future. To be honest, Toyama Tobi's call of son was not in vain. He really helped when something happened. Did you see that? Toyama Tobi was not surprised that Conan could see his disgust. Toyama Tobi did not hide his disgust for those brats, especially Koji Magenta and Suburaya Mitsuhiko, from Conan. Of course, it was limited to Conan. Why? This is only the second time you met. Why do you hate them so much? An excellent detective never feels that he has enough clues. Similarly, Conan wants to deepen his understanding of Toyama Tobi, and he will not miss any tiny details. First of all, I'll say it. I'm not a person who likes children. Yuanshin Fei said frankly without hiding anything. Secondly, tell me, how can I like those three guys? They are all a group of unpretty kids. Conan was probably vague when he gave a vague evaluation of the beige trio, because he just remembered that during the Metropolis code map incident, he asked the three of them to go home, but the three naughty kids secretly followed them. Then this time, Conan also asked them to go home after the library closed, but no one listened to him. The old pig kidneys were so upright. Old pig kidney upright, Northeast dialect, refers to the meaning of someone having a good idea in a derogatory sense. If these three little ghosts could listen to Conan once, they would not have been in danger of their lives twice in a row. This is equivalent to four people walking on the road together. Conan first saw a big pit on the ground, and then suggested that everyone go around it. The beige trio sneered at Conan's suggestion, and then lined up and jumped into the pit side by side, one pulling the other. When thinking about these, let alone making Toyama Tobi like him, just thinking about it makes Conan's blood pressure rise. Conan dejectedly agreed with Toyama Tobi's point of view for the first time. Okay, you're right. It's really hard to like the three of them. They can force Conan, who wants to oppose Toyama Tobi in everything, to start to agree with Toyama Tobi's point of view. You can imagine how hateful the beige UI trio is. Toyama Tobi looked at Conan with sympathy. If he didn't like the beige UI trio, there were many ways to avoid meeting them. Especially now that the beige UI trio was simply afraid of Toyama Tobi, they didn't dare to use their familiarity on Toyama Tobi. But Conan was miserable. Being forced to join the evil gang of the beige UI group, he would have to be a nanny for the trio in the future. You chose it yourself, idol. After answering Conan's question, based on the principle of equal exchange, Toyama Tobi asked Conan curiously, come to think of it, I'm a little surprised by your change today. Kid, I thought you wouldn't let me do anything. Feeling Toyama Tobi's surprise, Conan said calmly, if it were in the past, I would probably choose to rush in and save people alone. I think with my ability, I can always think of a good way. I have something to thank you for. Conan looked at Toyama Tobi seriously. Since I met you, I at least know that I'm not omnipotent in this world. I'm just a slightly talented and well-educated detective. I can't control everything. At the same time, I also understand that at some point I must make a choice. As long as my decision can benefit the public, then I should bear all the consequences. Well, how to say it? Conan's speech is full of strong element of the second year of middle school. Regarding the so-called public interest, Toyama Tobi is sure that such a burden will not fall on Conan. Of course, combined with Conan's real age, such a speech seems reasonable. The most important thing is that Conan is really reflecting and changing because of him. Toyama Tobi suddenly thought that he should speed up the process of changing Conan, and then wait for the Kudo couple to come back, and give them a big surprise. Madam, your son has become my shape. This idea is exciting just to think about. However, Toyama Tobi finally gave up this idea. Everything is too much, and giving Conan too much intense stimulation in a short period of time will easily lead to uncontrollable development of the situation. Toyama Tobi wants a more fun Conan, not a purebred madman. If Conan is really driven crazy by Toyama Tobi, think about Kudo Yusaku, think about Vermouth, and think about God's own daughter Maori Ran. Some of the difficulty will probably soar from simple to hell mode. Toyama Tobi refused. After sending Conan to the office, Toyama Tobi waved and turned away. Today he made an appointment with Takagi to drink together in the evening, and his good drinking buddy Maori Kagoro can only stay alone in the empty room today. Conan quietly watched Toyama Tobi's back disappear at the corner of the street, and then turned and went upstairs. After confirming that Maori Kagoro and Maori Ran were asleep, Conan went to the office on the second floor, and picked up the phone on the desk. A long-distance call was dialed from Conan's hand. It is unknown what Maori Kagoro felt when he saw the office's phone bill at the end of the month. The call was quickly connected, and Conan, who had been nervous all night, suddenly relaxed. His voice was full of fatigue at this moment. It was not physical fatigue, but a kind of mental fatigue. Dad, it's me. I did something recently, but I don't know if I did it right. What do you think I should do? Conan held up the bow voice changer and sat on Maori Kagoro's desk with his whole body relaxed. He looked up at the moon outside the window and then asked Kudo Yusaku about his doubts in his heart. It seems that Conan, who was extremely calm in front of Toyama Tobi, is not as firm as he looks when it's late at night. Chapter 79, The Top Love-Brained Man and Her Cowardly Man. Far away in the hotel, Toyama Tobi had no idea that Conan had been hit by a series of blows and was thinking of shaking people. He even shook the ceiling of Conan's world reasoning, the world-class mystery novelist Kudo Yusaku. The death of Tsukoi Hideki marked the complete destruction of the drug trafficking gang headed by Tsukikage Island. From now on, Bihoa Town will enter a new era of drug control. At least before the share of Tsukikage Island is occupied by other newly emerging drug dealers, it can be awarded a drug control model area. Just when Toyama Tobi was preparing to enjoy a rare vacation and feel the customs of Tokyo in the Conan world, he received an invitation letter from the Metropolitan Police Department. To be precise, it was an invitation letter from the manager of the 1st Investigation Division, Matsumoto Kiyoniga. Manager Matsumoto is getting married again. Toyama Tobi was shocked when he received the wedding invitation from Takagi. As a male version of the flower of the Metropolitan Police Department, Toyama Tobi naturally had dealings with Matsumoto Kiyoniga. The two also drank together at the same table. Of course, Matsumoto Kiyoniga is the manager of the 1st Investigation Division after all, so he naturally has his own social circle. It is impossible for him to hang out with the frontline detectives all day. So Toyama Tobi and Matsumoto Kiyoniga are probably familiar with each other, but not as familiar as other detectives in the 1st Investigation Division. When Toyama Tobi received the wedding invitation, he did not think of Conan's original work. Subconsciously, he thought that Matsumoto Kiyoniga, the old man, had played a trick of iron tree blooming, deadwood revived in spring, and old trees sprouting. When Takagi, who helped to pass on the invitation, heard it, he was so scared that he hurriedly covered Toyama Tobi's mouth. Then he looked around vigilantly and found that there were no colleagues from the Metropolitan Police Department, so he relaxed. Don't joke, Toyama, this invitation is the invitation to the wedding of manager Matsumoto's daughter. I heard that I was going to see you today, and Officer Sato asked me to bring the invitation to you. Toyama Tobi exclaimed in his heart. What a guy. How many hands did this invitation pass through in order to be delivered to him? But think about it, he is Sato's informant, and he is a registered informant. As the manager of the 1st Investigation Division, Matsumoto Kiyanaga must have known. After all, informants are not undercover agents, not to mention Toyama Tobi, who is registered openly. There is no such thing as a confidentiality level. Of course, the confidentiality level of the Metropolitan Police Department is just that. Didn't you see that in the later theatrical version, the public security nest was made free to come and go by the members of the organization? Various confidential documents can be read at will, and the undercovers of major intelligence agencies are completely exposed. Other intelligence agencies have finally sent undercovers to the black organization, but they were revealed by the Japanese Public Security Bureau. How to say it, the public security in the theatrical version is really comparable to the free trio. Anyway, because of the relationship between Toyama Tobi and Sato Miwako, this invitation letter was handed over to Sato Miwako by Matsumoto Kiyanaga. Then this job was given to Takagi by Sato. Toyama Tobi looked up and down at the nervous Takagi and asked curiously, speaking of which, although Officer Matsumoto looks a bit fierce, he is still a good person. By the way, Officer Takagi, why are you so nervous? To Toyama Tobi, Matsumoto Kiyanaga is really a good person. When the two of them drank at the same table for the first time, Matsumoto Kiyanaga paid the bill for that night. At that time, there were not only Toyama Tobi at the table, but also several other detectives from the investigation division. Matsumoto Kiyanaga did not put on any airs at the table, and even this old friend who had been widowed for many years was the one who drank too much and talked nonsense at the table. Why do you think Takagi's performance is like a mouse seeing a cat? Takagi did not agree with Toyama Tobi's evaluation of Matsumoto Kiyanaga. After all, Toyama Tobi was not a member of the investigation division, so it was naturally difficult for him to empathize with Takagi. To Takagi, Officer Matsumoto Kiyanaga was like a stern, old-fashioned and strict class teacher in his childhood. Not to mention talking to Matsumoto Kiyanaga, even just looking at Matsumoto Kiyanaga made Takagi feel scared. Not to mention that Matsumoto Kiyanaga's ferocious appearance gave Takagi a lot of psychological pressure. After Takagi whispered about his impression of Matsumoto Kiyanaga, Toyama Tobi was very puzzled. No, you are not going to marry his daughter, so why are you afraid of him? You might as well be afraid of Officer Meiji than Officer Matsumoto. After all, if you really make a mistake, Officer Matsumoto will probably encourage you. But Officer Meiji will not forget to scold you. After chatting with Takagi for a few words, Toyama Tobi took the invitation and parted ways. After returning to the hotel, Toyama Tobi looked at the wedding invitation on the table. What can this invitation bring him? Obviously, this invitation can at least bring him a lot of favorability from the Metropolitan Police Department. Toyama Tobi's favorability in the investigation division is not low. If this wedding is handled, the police will have a higher degree of trust in Toyama Tobi. After all, the June bride incident was also a case that left a deep impression on Toyama Tobi. It was not this incident that impressed Toyama Tobi. As for Conan's reasoning about the incident, Toyama Tobi had long forgotten it. But Sayuri Matsumoto, a top love brain, would find it hard to forget, even if she wanted to. Similarly, her cowardly fiancé was still fresh in Toyama Tobi's memory 20 years ago. Takasuji's mother was hit by a car driven by a criminal pursued by Matsumoto Kiyanaga, and died because she was not sent to the hospital in time. Takasuji Toshihiko, who saw Matsumoto Kiyanaga busy chasing the criminal, believed that his mother's death was Matsumoto Kiyanaga's fault, and wanted him to experience the feeling of losing a loved one. That's right, Takasuji Toshihiko believed that everything was Matsumoto Kiyanaga's fault. But he didn't plan to kill Matsumoto Kiyanaga, but pursued Matsumoto Kiyanaga's daughter with great effort and successfully entered the wedding hall. On the wedding day, Takasuji Toshihiko was ready to kill his fiancé. Then Sayuri Matsumoto, a top love brain, resolutely drank the medicine given to her by her fiancé. because her fiancé is not only her fiancé, but also her childhood first love. How should I put it? When Toyama Tobi saw this episode, she didn't have much feeling. But when she revisited the plot 20 years later, the feeling was simply amazing. I can only say that it is worthy of being Beaker Town, and the taste is so authentic. There are still a few days before the wedding, enough time for Toyama Tobi to conduct some in-depth investigations. Toyama Tobi first logged into the organization's intelligence database and entered the name Takasugi Toshihiko. Unexpectedly, she found a lot of useful information. Then Toyama Tobi found the former director of the orphanage where the Takasugi family adopted Takasugi Toshihiko. Based on this information, this orphanage has been closed for a long time. If Toyama Tobi wants to understand the original situation, he can only learn from the director and former staff. Director, do you still remember this child? Toyama Tobi took out a photo of Takasugi Toshihiko when he was a child, put it in front of the old director and asked him. Chapter 80, Accidents of Human Relationships. Is this the child who was adopted by the Takasugi family? The old director of the orphanage recognized the child in the photo at a glance. It was not because the old director had a good memory, but because there were only a handful of children in the orphanage who could be adopted by a wealthy family like the Takasugi family. To put it bluntly, Takasugi Toshihiko was also a representative of a person who rose to fame overnight. Even if the old director forgot everyone, he would not forget Takasugi Toshihiko. Yes, that's him. Toyama Tobi nodded and then asked the old director, do you still remember what his original name was? Why are you asking this? Who are you? The old director asked Toyama Tobi very vigilantly, whether the old director was considering Takasugi Toshihiko or for himself. Takasugi Toshihiko would only maximize the interests of the two in the Takasugi family. Perhaps the old director himself did not ask Takasugi Toshihiko to repay him, but no matter what, as long as Takasugi Toshihiko took over smoothly, it would be a network for the old director and even his children. So when Toyama Tobi expressed his desire to explore Takasugi Toshihiko's past experience, the old director seemed very vigilant. In fact, there are also reasons for Toyama Tobi himself. Toyama Tobi has been talking to Rum, or meeting Gin recently. His temperament is inevitably tainted with the breath of a black organization. In the Metropolitan Police Department, because of the blessing of the flower of the Metropolitan Police Department, these detectives like Toyama Tobi more and more. But other people who are not affected by Toyama Tobi's buff and have keen senses will have a feeling that this kid doesn't look easy to approach when they see Toyama Tobi for the first time. In the past, the old dean dealt with some sensitive orphans all day long. Over time, the old dean naturally developed a keen mind. Toyama Tobi didn't give the old dean a good first impression. Toyama Tobi didn't answer the old dean's question directly. The reason why he appeared here with the old dean today was not for anything else, but for a decent excuse. Toyama Tobi remembered everything about Takasugi Toshihiko and Matsumoto Sayuri. But Toyama Tobi couldn't run to Matsumoto Kiyonagi like a charlatan and talk about it. It's fine to do this once or twice, and people will just think you're well informed. But once it happens more than once, everyone will realize that something is wrong. If you can get a legitimate explanation with a little effort, why not do it? Thinking of this, Toyama Tobi asked the old dean, did you know that Takasugi Toshihiko is getting married soon? The old dean nodded and said nothing. Toyama Tobi didn't care and continued, the person he's marrying is the daughter of Matsumoto Kiyonagi, the manager of the 1st Investigation Division of the Metropolitan Police Department. Considering the scale of the Takasugi family group, the combination of the two can be considered a good match. The old dean somewhat understood what Toyama Tobi meant and asked tentatively, are you a policeman? No, I'm not. Toyama Tobi didn't take the opportunity to admit his identity as a policeman. Although I'm not a policeman, I need to rely on the Metropolitan Police Department for a lot of my work. To be precise, it should be relying on the 1st Investigation Division, so I can be considered half a member of the Metropolitan Police Department. People of the old dean's age used to run orphanages. He can be considered well informed. The best way to deal with such people is to state the facts with 9 truths and 1 lie. Sure enough, When Toyama Tobi did not admit his identity as a policeman, the old dean's vigilance was somewhat reduced. But he still questioned Toyama Tobi. Since you rely on the Metropolitan Police Department for your livelihood, you also know that Junan will soon become the son-in-law of Administrator Matsumoto. Why do you still want to investigate him? Aren't you afraid that Administrator Matsumoto will be angry when he finds out? Administrator Matsumoto will be angry when he finds out? Toyama Tobi couldn't help laughing when he heard the old dean's words. If what I found is really the same as what I thought, Administrator Matsumoto will only thank me even if he knows. He won't be angry with me. On the contrary, it's hard to say what Takasugi Junan will do then. Toyama Tobi's words made the old dean freeze in place. On the surface, the old dean remained calm, but his heart was full of twists and turns. What on earth did Junan do to make the young man in front of him say this so confidently? The old dean made a decision quickly and said to Toyama Tobi in a serious tone, I can cooperate with your investigation, but I want to go with you. Don't worry, if there is anyone in this world who knows Toshihiko better than his adoptive parents, it must be me. The old dean's straightforward agreement surprised Toshihiko. Before he could use his money throwing method, the old dean had already agreed to cooperate with his investigation. Toshihiko Tobi also understood the good intentions of the old dean. The old man wanted to participate in his investigation because he was afraid that Toshihiko Tobi would tamper with the results of the investigation. With the current relationship between Takasugi Toshihiko and the old dean not being close, the old man could do this. Toshihiko Tobi was in awe of the old dean. You are indeed a very good dean. Toshihiko Tobi nodded and agreed to the old dean's request. The old dean was also unambiguous. According to Toshihiko Tobi's request, he reported the original name of Takasugi Toshihiko when he was sent to the orphanage, the time he was sent to the orphanage, and his performance when he first entered the orphanage. After all was said, the old dean even looked at Toyama Tobi with some expectation. Where are we going to investigate next? Looking at the old dean who was full of childishness and even rubbing his hands a little bit, Toyama Tobi suddenly realized. He forgot that this place was Bika Town. The detective gene ingrained in the bones of Bika people made it impossible for them to refuse to experience the joy of being a detective for a short time. However, Toyama Tobi's investigation method might disappoint the old dean. Toyama Tobi took out his mobile phone from his pocket and called Officer Takagi. Is Officer Takagi busy? If not, can you help me check something? The old dean. You just contacted the police directly? Toyama Tobi said as a matter of course. Yes, what else? It's so convenient to contact the police. If we too go to investigate this kind of thing ourselves, it will take a lot of time and we may not be able to find it out. It would be much more convenient to hand it over to the detectives of the first investigation section. The main feature of the Toyama investigation method is to make good use of tools. Excellent tool people like Officer Takagi are even more useless. Anyway, with Officer Takagi's current position in the Investigation Division 1, he can only help people when they go to the scene, or he can write reports in the office. Now he is following himself to investigate his boss's boss. How exciting this experience is. Takagi, who is far away in the Metropolitan Police Department, feels it is quite exciting. He even thinks that Toyama Tobi is a bit sick. No, brother, what are you thinking? Manager Matsumoto sent you an invitation letter, and you started investigating him directly? Is your level of social skills just an accident? Chapter 81. You must be sweating, brother. Otherwise, how can we say that Gaomyu is such a capable person? On one hand, there is the administrative officer who is full of majesty on weekdays, and on the other hand, there is a good brother who often gives him credit. Gaomyu gritted his teeth and walked towards the archives of the Metropolitan Police Department. When Gaomyu came to the old dean's house with a stack of files in his arms, Yuan Shinfei was preparing the meals on the table. These meals were all packed from the restaurant. Yuan Shinfei is not yet able to let an old man who is not familiar with him cook for him. His own cooking level. It's hard to describe. It's edible, but it's limited to being edible. Yuan Shinfei rushed outside to prepare a large table of meals in time. Seeing Gaomyu coming, he hurriedly greeted him in. Gaomyu looked at the table full of delicious dishes and meals, and suddenly felt sad. Gaomu had also heard of the custom that prisoners should have a good meal before they die. Could it be that this table of meals is the last meal prepared by Yuanshin's good brother for him? At the dinner table, Toyama Tobi looked at the absent-minded Takagi with some surprise. Although Takagi fell in love with Officer Sato at first sight, Takagi, who is still a rookie, obviously has not reached the stage of worrying about gains and losses. Is Officer Takagi too hard on himself? The progress bar in your mind and the progress bar in reality don't match at all. Officer Takagi, what are you thinking about? So absorbed in it. Toyama Tobi's call woke Takagi up instantly. Takagi, who was awake or not quite awake, stood up and said loudly, "Manager Matsumoto, I took the initiative to investigate these cases. It has nothing to do with other people. My goodness, Takagi is really a good person." Toyama Tobi finally understood why Takagi had been absent-minded for so long, because he was worried about this matter. Toyama Tobi walked up to Takagi and patted him on the shoulder, ready to give him a reassurance. "Don't worry, Officer Takagi. We are not investigating Officer Matsumoto, but the target happens to appear in the cases handled by Officer Matsumoto." "Ah, is that so?" Takagi asked subconsciously. "Of course it is. What else do you think?" Toyama Tobi smiled, but people who are familiar with him usually start to be alert at this time. It's a pity that there are no old friends familiar with Toyama Tobi in the Conan world. Hearing Toyama Tobi's assurance, Takagi's heart was finally put down. "Oh, you should have said it earlier. Would I have been so worried if you had said it earlier?" Takagi, who had nothing to worry about and felt relaxed, happily ate with relish. When the banquet was in full swing, Takagi asked Toyama Tobi vaguely, "By the way, Toyama, who are you investigating? How come it has something to do with Officer Matsumoto?" Toyama Tobi replied lightly, "Takasuji Toshihiko. Takasuji Toshihiko. Why does this name sound familiar?" Takagi, who was chewing the food in his mouth, suddenly thought of why he felt that this name was familiar. "Isn't this Officer Matsumoto's son-in-law?" Exclamation mark. It's better to investigate Officer Matsumoto directly. This is the situation. Whether it's for Officer Matsumoto or for Teacher Sayuri, we have to find out before their wedding. If it's a misunderstanding, everyone is happy and we'll just pretend that it never happened. But if it's not a misunderstanding, then at least Officer Matsumoto should know about it in advance." After the meal, Toyama Tobi explained that he had heard from a special source that the son of the Takasuji family had always been against the Metropolitan Police Department's detectives, especially Officer Matsumoto. He was very dissatisfied with the wedding of both parties, and he felt that it was a bit strange. To ensure safety and to repay the care of Matsumoto, Yuanshin Fei decided to investigate the matter privately. This statement was immediately recognized by the old dean and Takagi. The investigation speed of 3 people is always much faster than that of 1 person. Soon, the old dean found the file about the death of Takasuji Toshihiko's mother by the gangster, chased by Matsumoto Kiyoniga. It should be this case. When the government sent Toshihiko here, I heard them say that Toshihiko's mother died in a car accident. But I didn't expect the cause of the car accident to be like this. The old dean shook his head and sighed. He clearly remembered how Takasuji Toshihiko looked when he first came to the orphanage. He was withdrawn, self-enclosed, and emotionally sensitive. Even when he was sleeping and dreaming at night, he would occasionally say such dream talk as "I want to kill you." As time passed, the old dean thought that Takasuji Toshihiko had let go of this hatred. Unexpectedly, he hid this hatred in his heart. It's just that the target of this hatred, the old dean, was somewhat unacceptable. If the gangster hit your mother, you can hate the gangster. The Takasuji group is a big company, and it is not easy to fabricate a criminal in prison. Why do you hate the police who caught the thief? It doesn't make sense. Old dean, how old was Takasuji Toshihiko when he was first sent to the orphanage? 8 years old. 8 years old. 8-year-old children have already started to remember things. Toyama Tobi slapped the file and sighed. Now even Takagi realized that there was something wrong with Takasuji Toshihiko, and the problem was very big. "Let's go, Takagi. We have to go back to the Metropolitan Police Department to let Manager Matsumoto know about this." Toyama Tobi asked Takagi to go with him. Before leaving, Toyama Tobi turned around and thanked the old dean. "Thank you very much for your help today, Dean." "No, I just told you some not so secret information." The old dean watched Toyama Tobi's car leave at the door. After closing the door, the old dean walked to the cabinet in the entrance, opened the drawer, and took out a wedding invitation. Alas, a faint sigh echoed in the entrance, and the invitation was pressed at the bottom of the drawer. Metropolitan Police Department Investigation Division 1, Management Officer's Office. In the Metropolitan Police Department system, only those who reach the level of management officer are qualified to have their own independent office. As the head of the 3rd Division of the Investigation Division 1, Officer Meggio's workstation is together with other people in the 3rd Division. In other words, only when you reach the level of management officer can you really get involved in management work. At the desk, Matsumoto Kiyanaga was looking through the evidence found by Toyama Tobi and Takagi, and was a little dazed for a while. "So that's it, Takagi, you borrowed all the files I handled for this?" Matsumoto Kiyanaga's words made Takagi sweat profusely. My god, Takagi thought he had done it secretly, but he didn't expect that. As soon as he left the archives room with the files, Matsumoto Kiyanaga knew about it. This is no wonder. Japan has always had a tradition of subordinates overthrowing their superiors. How could superiors not be wary of their subordinates? It was because Takagi was honest and hardworking on weekdays. Otherwise he might not even be able to leave the gate of the Metropolitan Police Department. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82. Thank you Lemonade Boss for the reward. Thank you very much for the reward from the boss. It's hard to add more chapters during the new book period. Let's save them and update them together. Thank you again for the reward from the boss. Chapter 83. In the name of Sato's elders urging marriage. Matsumoto Kiyanaga's words made Takagi sweat profusely. After staring at the file for a long time, he said to Takagi, "Officer Takagi, please call Officer Meggio to my office." "Okay, I'll go right away." Takagi was as if he had been pardoned. He gave Toyama Tobi a look that said brother can't stand it anymore, and fled from Matsumoto Kiyanaga's office. As expected, it was still a little difficult for Takagi to face a big boss like Matsumoto Kiyanaga. After Takagi left, Toyama Tobi and Matsumoto Kiyanaga were the only two people left in the office. Toyama Tobi knew that Matsumoto Kiyanaga was deliberately sending Takagi away. Matsumoto Kiyanaga sat on the chair and looked at Toyama Tobi for a long time and said to Toyama Tobi solemnly, "Thank you." As the saying goes, great favors do not need to be thanked. If Matsumoto Kiyanaga expressed his gratitude to Toyama Tobi in a long speech, it probably meant that the friendship between the two would end here. In addition to great favors not needing to be thanked, there is also a saying that great favors turn into hatred. Matsumoto Kiyanaga's concise thanks are the best way to express it. The meaning is almost that I will say so much, and you can see whether I will help you or not in the future. Facing Matsumoto Kiyanaga's thanks, Toyama Tobi did not get ahead of himself. He modestly said that he was taken care of by many criminal police in the investigation division. At that time, he could not ignore such a problem. It was Officer Takagi who made great efforts to find these. Matsumoto Kiyanaga is also a wonderful person who knows everything. When he heard Toyama Tobi say this, he immediately said that Takagi is indeed a good seedling. But as a criminal police, he still lacks some manly spirit. It just so happens that Toyama Tobi and Takagi have a good relationship. With a good example like Toyama Tobi, Takagi will definitely become a very outstanding criminal police in the future. This exchange is mainly about Toyama Tobi clarifying his demands. Toyama Tobi said that he is not a police officer of the Metropolitan Police Department. If Manager Matsumoto has anything to take care of, he should take good care of his good brother Officer Takagi. Matsumoto Kiyanaga agreed and said he would take good care of Takagi Wataru, but it was not easy to promote him directly based on Takagi's current performance. He also said that in the future, Toyama Tobi could still use Takagi to mobilize the resources of the Investigation Division 1, and if there was any credit, it could be attributed to Takagi. As for what Matsumoto Kiyanaga said about Takagi's lack of masculinity, even Toyama Tobi couldn't refute it. Who made Matsumoto Kiyanaga snatch the knife from the gangster when he was at Takagi's level, and then chase the gangster and chopped him? Compared with Matsumoto Kiyanaga, Officer Takagi lacks some masculinity of chasing and slashing people. Toyama Tobi has already found a good solution to Takagi's lack of masculinity. He just waited for Matsumoto Kiyanaga's daughter's wedding to be over before he started to transform Officer Takagi. There is more than just Conan in the world of Detective Conan, and there are so many fun places. If Conan is compared to a large open game world, the playability of this game is simply high. Soon, Officer Meiji came to Matsumoto Kiyanaga's office, and Matsumoto did not let Toyama Tobi leave. In front of Toyama Tobi, he gave an order to Officer Meiji. On the day of my daughter's wedding, I want you to take the elite forces of the 1st Investigation Division to keep an eye on Takasugi Toshihiko. Officer Matsumoto? Officer Meiji blinked. Who did Officer Matsumoto ask him to keep an eye on just now? Could it be that he just heard an auditory hallucination? How come the name that Officer Matsumoto said is so similar to the name of Sayuri's fiancé? You heard it right, Meiji. It's Takasugi Toshihiko. I want you to send someone to keep an eye on him on the wedding day. After confirming that Takasugi Toshihiko might have a problem, Matsumoto Kiyanaga immediately thought that Takasugi Toshihiko might make trouble on the day of the wedding ceremony. Because Sayuri Matsumoto and Takasugi Toshihiko have been in a relationship for a while, if Takasugi Toshihiko really wants to do something, Sayuri Matsumoto might have been in trouble a long time ago. Since Sayuri has not had any accidents, I'm afraid that Takasugi Toshihiko is going to make a big one. What could be more devastating to an old father than an accident on his daughter's wedding day? Matsumoto Kiyanaga wished that he was judging others by his own standards. Unfortunately, Matsumoto Kiyanaga is not a villain, and Takasugi Toshihiko, the bastard, is not a gentleman either. No wonder Matsumoto Kiyanaga has always felt that Takasugi Toshihiko is not a good match for his daughter, and that this guy is not a good guy. I didn't expect that he is really not a good guy. Toyama Tobi explained the relationship between Takasugi Toshihiko and Matsumoto Kiyanaga to Officer Meiji. Officer Meiji immediately understood the seriousness of the situation. He immediately stated that he would bring the most capable detectives from the entire investigation division to keep an eye on Takasugi Toshihiko on the wedding day. Toyama Tobi also gave Officer Meiji a suggestion that he could ask Matsumoto Sayuri to let Officer Sato be her bridesmaid. With the presence of the female police officer Sato Miwako, it would be more convenient to protect Matsumoto Sayuri closely. By then, with the relationship with Officer Sato, Toyama Tobi will naturally have a reason to stay in the bride's lounge. Toyama Tobi's idea made Officer Meiji very happy, but then Officer Meiji fell into a dilemma. But what reason should I use to convince Sayuri? She is the daughter of manager Matsumoto. If there is no suitable reason, Sayuri will definitely doubt the reason why Sato appeared. That's not easy. Toyama Tobi was confident. Officer Meiji, just say that Officer Sato has been busy with work and doesn't want to find a boyfriend. As a boss, you are worried about her. I hope Sayuri can let Officer Sato feel the atmosphere of the wedding. Maybe after the wedding, Officer Sato will want to find a boyfriend. That's right. Haha, brother Toyama, thanks to you. Officer Meiji laughed and said the slogan of the younger brother, Toyama Tobi, and he liked him so much. It was just that Matsumoto Kiyanaga on the side was a little hesitant to speak. Speaking of which, Sato was also raised by Matsumoto Kiyanaga. As a half-elder, Matsumoto is also worried about the fact that Sato still hasn't found a boyfriend at such an old age. It is indeed a good thing to let Sato feel the atmosphere of a wedding. But after feeling the atmosphere of her own daughter's wedding, which may cause trouble, won't Sato be more afraid of marriage? Matsumoto Kiyanaga wanted to remind her, but when he saw Toyama Tobi and Meiji busying around for his daughter's personal safety, Matsumoto Kiyanaga couldn't say this for a while. In the end, Matsumoto Kiyanaga could only acquiesce to the plan of Toyama Tobi and Officer Meiji, and prepare to find an opportunity to enlighten Sato Miwako after the wedding. Meiji, Toyama, my daughter's future safety is entirely in the hands of you two. Don't worry, Officer Matsumoto, I will definitely live up to my mission. Chapter 84 Sonoko, Xiaolan, I have a favor to ask. How is it? How is it? Officer Sato, how do you like my dress? In the bridal lounge, Sayuri Matsumoto, who had changed into the main veil, was eager to show off her wedding dress to Officer Sato in front of her. It's very beautiful, Sayuri. No girl can resist the temptation of a wedding dress. This includes Officer Sato, of course. Although our Officer Sato can shoot a gangster with one shot without mercy, she is also a serious girl, is that right? Sayuri Matsumoto was overjoyed when she heard this, and then looked at Sato expectantly. Does Officer Sato want to try it on? Me. Why would I wear a wedding dress? Sayuri Matsumoto suddenly shifted the topic to herself, which made Officer Sato a little dumbfounded. Speaking of which, ever since Sayuri Matsumoto agreed to be her bridesmaid, Sato always felt that Sayuri Matsumoto's attitude was a little strange. What on earth is going on with this weird feeling of expectation? In the lounge, Toyama Tobi, who was standing in the corner, had a full view of the conversation between the two. He couldn't help but feel helpless about Matsumoto Sayuri's expectations. What did Inspector Meijio say to Matsumoto Sayuri? What on earth is this firm sense of mission that Matsumoto Sayuri has now? Could this girl really want Inspector Sato to get rid of her singleness after attending the wedding? If Matsumoto Sayuri can really do it, Takagi outside will probably cry to death. Inspector Sato, who was a little overwhelmed by Matsumoto Sayuri's weird enthusiasm, looked at Toyama Tobi for help. Toyama Tobi could only shrug and give Sato a helpless look. I'm sorry, Inspector Sato, I really can't help you with this. After getting the feedback from the useless man Toyama Tobi, Sato could only accept his fate and be manipulated by the enthusiastic Matsumoto Sayuri. The whole person looked like a doll that was played with. What's wrong with this bride? Who would be so concerned about the bridesmaids around them when getting married? Fortunately, Ran Mayoli and Suzuki Sonoko knocked on the door and came in to save Sato from the dire situation. Wow, teacher Sayuri is really beautiful. Ran and Sonoko, two high school students, turned into bubble teapot monsters in front of Sayuri Matsumoto, who was dressed in pure white. This made Toyama Tobi, who was standing by the window, particularly confused. No, why are you two blushing when she's wearing a wedding dress? She's so energetic now. After expressing their feelings to Sayuri Matsumoto, Ran and Sonoko turned their eyes to Officer Sato, who was wearing a dress next to them. Wow, Officer Sato is also beautiful in this dress. Toyama Tobi understood that girls simply had no resistance to beautiful clothes. On the contrary, Conan, who came in with them, looked much more clean because he saw Toyama Tobi by the window at a glance and was even more shocked. That guy, why did that guy appear here too? As mentioned earlier, Sayuri Matsumoto is a teacher. To be precise, she is a music teacher. She is also a music teacher who has taught Ran Mayoli, Shinichi Kudo, and Sonoko Suzuki. Just listen to this subject and you will know that Sayuri Matsumoto and Shinichi Kudo's time together will definitely not be wonderful. For a music teacher, Shinichi Kudo, who is tone deaf, is really no different from an idiot. Hearing that Sayuri Matsumoto is getting married, Conan even pestered Xiaolan to come to the wedding scene together. He came here just to see what kind of warrior would marry this fierce woman. As a result, the warrior didn't see it, but he saw a wild big devil. Grass, a kind of plant. Why are you everywhere? Conan's silence made Sonoko a little curious. Speaking of which, I don't know why, this little ghost who suddenly appeared in Xiaolan's house always made Sonoko feel a little chest tightness and shortness of breath. That feeling is the same as seeing Shinichi Kudo, the reasoning maniac. But Sonoko can't deal with Shinichi Kudo's reasoning maniac. Can't she deal with you, a first grade kid? What do you think, kid? Are you shocked by Sayuri's beauty? Sonoko wanted to see Conan's lecherous look, but she found that Conan's sight was a little off. Conan should be looking in the direction of the lounge window. Is there anything more attractive in that direction than Sayuri? Sonoko looked in the direction of Conan's sight, and then he became the lecherous look she imagined. Slurp. Handsome guy. What handsome guy? Zyallen looked over with curiosity and then saw Toyama Tobi, who was waving at him. Toyama brother? Why are you here? Zyallen asked the question that Conan wanted to ask, while secretly pulling the hem of her best friend's clothes. Why are all of them so troublesome? Whenever her father drinks with Toyama Tobi, she has to be on guard against Malrika Goro getting drunk and asking Toyama Tobi to become sworn brothers. The same is true for her best friend. You look at handsome guys, but why are you drooling? Toyama Tobi smiled and pointed at Officer Sato, who was standing beside her. Teacher Sayuri is the daughter of Officer Matsumoto of the Investigation Division 1. I just happened to receive an invitation, so I came here with Officer Sato to help. Matsumoto Sayuri nodded repeatedly, with a gossipy gleam in her eyes. Toyama Tobi always felt that Matsumoto Sayuri had some misunderstanding about the relationship between herself and Sato. Don't think I didn't see it. The ambiguity in your eyes is about to overflow from your eye sockets. Sonoko, who has always been unrestrained and bold behind people, suddenly became shy in front of Toyama Tobi. She hid behind Ran Mori and poked Ran's waist. Ran, I've been your best friend for life, but now I have an unreasonable request. Otherwise, how can they be called good sisters? Before Sonoko said anything, Ran knew what her best friend was thinking. But Zyallen was not optimistic about Sonoko. Based on her understanding of Toyama Tobi, Sonoko was not Toyama's type at all. With the addition of Zyallen and Sonoko, the scene was quickly divided. Sayuri Matsumoto pulled Sato, Zyallen and Sonoko to whisper. When they were talking, they would look at Toyama Tobi from time to time. Obviously, the topic was related to Toyama Tobi. Conan was obviously not very interested in the topic between girls, and it was not that Conan was not interested. It was that there was someone in the lounge that Conan was more interested in. Conan came to Toyama Tobi and looked at him inexplicably. Why are you looking at me like that? For the first time, Toyama Tobi felt a little uncomfortable when he was looked at by Conan's resentful eyes. As soon as he finished asking this question, Conan gritted his teeth and questioned, why is the merchant of your card machine called Tokyo Wife? Conan still can't forget the meaningful tone of his father when he wanted to seek his father's life guidance. If I hadn't specifically asked about it at that time, I'm afraid I don't know how long I would be misunderstood. Looking at Conan's broken expression, Toyama Tobi said faintly, Conan, how could you believe that your father really believed your explanation at that time? Chapter 85. Are we going to confront the ceiling of reasoning? Unlike Conan, who was full of entanglements, Toyama Tobi's focus was not on the Tokyo wives. Instead, it was a casual remark made by Conan just now. Conan and Kudo Yusaku were on the phone. Toyama Tobi didn't expect that he could make Conan look for his parents. Let's say that, when I watched Conan in my previous life, Conan was still very brave. He was turned into a child, but he didn't even tell his parents, who were far away in the United States. Those who know that Conan's parents only live in the United States, and those who don't know probably think that Conan's parents are dead. Anyway, when Toyama Tobi first watched Conan and the Kudo couple hadn't appeared yet, I assumed that Kudo Shinichi was an orphan. TSK, after all this time, Conan's parents are still alive. How can you be the Dark Knight in Biko Town? Obviously, everyone's configuration is similar, and now we just need to wait for a dark alley, and then 6 legs in, and 2 legs out, and it's done. Anyway, Toyama Tobi can make Conan doubt his life, and it can be regarded as an achievement that he needs Kudo Yusaku to solve it. But this also means that Toyama Tobi may need to face the ceiling of Conan's reasoning ability in advance. If, according to Vermuth, Conan is destined to be a silver bullet shot at the heart of the organization, then there is no doubt that Kudo Yusaku, who trained Conan, will at least be a silver RPG once he gets ruthless. Or maybe silver Katasha. Toyama Tobi is both nervous and excited to be able to face such a task. The focus of Detective Conan is naturally on Conan, but the glimpse of Kudo Yusaku in 1 or 2 episodes is enough for Conan fans to have unlimited expectations for this mature uncle. But from the current standpoint, Toyama Tobi and Kudo Yusaku are hostile. But when did the standpoint become absolute? Everyone in the bride's lounge had different thoughts, and the small circle that was originally divided was broken by the arrival of Matsumoto Kiyoniga. Xiaolan and Sonoko were facing a great enemy, but in the end they found that it was a mistake. Such a man with a fierce face who can stop children from crying at night is actually the father of Mr. Matsumoto? Exclamation mark. Xiaolan and Sonoko's 3 views exploded. In comparison, Toyama Tobi thought more. Maybe what manager Matsumoto said before leaving the lounge was true. It was a sentence very beautiful, but still inferior to your dead mother. Otherwise, with manager Matsumoto's appearance, he failed to give birth to a female version of Lee Kui. How beautiful that lady must have looked, like a fairy. After Matsumoto Kiyoniga left, Xiaolan suddenly found that the camera she brought was running out of power. Thinking of an electrical appliance store at the door, she hurriedly pulled Sonoko out to buy batteries. Conan, who looks like Kudo Shinichi, looks exactly like Kudo Shinichi when he was a child except for the glasses on his face, was noticed by Matsumoto Sayuri. Then he was pulled aside and teased by the big sister. To be honest, Toyama Tobi only felt that Matsumoto Sayuri's eyes were still a bit interesting. Conan's glasses are really catching up with Superman's glasses. When the little glasses are put on, the whole world can't tell who Conan looks like. It's fine for the others, even Marilyn and Suzuki Sonoko didn't recognize him. But one person was outrageous. Sato, who was replaced by Conan, came to Toyama Tobi and asked softly about the current situation. Toyama Tobi looked at the time. The ceremony is about to begin. If Takasugi Toshihiko really wants to do something, now is his last chance. Then Takasugi Toshihiko was pushed into the bride's lounge by his friends. Toyama Tobi clearly noticed that when Takasugi Toshihiko was pushed in, a very complicated look appeared in Matsumoto Sayuri's eyes. That's right, if there is anyone in this world who knows the truth earlier than Toyama Tobi, it must be Matsumoto Sayuri. 7 years ago, when Takasugi Toshihiko appeared in front of Matsumoto Sayuri again, she recognized her first love in childhood at a glance. No, maybe he can't even be considered a first love, but just a childhood playmate. After a period of disgusting interaction, Takasugi Toshihiko took the lemon tea from Matsumoto Sayuri's hand and chose a very awkward angle to talk to Matsumoto Sayuri. Because Toyama Tobi and Sato were standing on the side of the window, Takasugi Toshihiko had his back to them. But because Matsumoto Sayuri and Toyama Tobi were not standing in the same direction, Takasugi Toshihiko was facing her sideways, holding a cup of lemon tea in his hand. It seemed that Takasugi Toshihiko was talking to the lemon tea. Not to mention Toyama Tobi. Even Conan was wondering whether the groom had poor eyesight or something unspeakable. But soon Takasugi Toshihiko adjusted himself and handed the lemon tea in his hand to Matsumoto Sayuri while talking. Just when Matsumoto Sayuri was about to take the lemon tea, Takasugi Toshihiko's hand was suddenly grabbed by Toyama Tobi. "Are you really going to give this thing to her to drink?" Toyama Tobi said, and looked at Matsumoto Sayuri again. "You actually plan to drink this thing?" Sato immediately played her role on the scene and immediately pulled Matsumoto Sayuri away from Takasugi Toshihiko. To be precise, it was the lemon tea in Takasugi Toshihiko's hand. Just before the wedding, Toyama Tobi received a call from the old dean. He said on the phone that someone had also found him to investigate the things that Toyama Tobi was investigating 7 years ago. The person who visited him 7 years ago was named Takenaka Kazumi. Toyama Tobi was wondering who this person was, but today in the bride's lounge, he met Sayuri Matsumoto's college classmate and best friend. Her name was Takenaka Kazumi. Toyama Tobi immediately found Sato to communicate with him, and emphasized it. After informing Sato of the situation, if any accident really happened, Sayuri Matsumoto must be pulled away from the scene. He was afraid that Sayuri Matsumoto would not be able to figure it out, so she would not cause trouble at that time. Sato now thoroughly implemented Toyama Tobi's idea. "What are you talking about? This is just a can of ordinary lemon tea." Takasugi Toshihiko tried to pull his hand out of Toyama Tobi's hand, but after trying for a long time, it was useless. Toyama Tobi clamped Takasugi Toshihiko's wrist like an iron clamp. Facing Takasugi Toshihiko's unique stubbornness, Toyama Tobi smiled slightly. He is not a detective who reasoned with people. Presenting evidence and reasoning is the job of a detective. Toyama Tobi is much more direct than detectives like Conan. Since you said this is an ordinary can of lemon tea, please take a sip. Just one sip will do. Toyama Tobi said to Takasugi Toshihiko very kindly, then held Takasugi Toshihiko's wrist and slowly put the lemon tea to Takasugi Toshihiko's mouth. Just when the lemon tea was pushed to Takasugi Toshihiko's mouth by Toyama Tobi, he shouted with sweat and pale face, "Enough. I admit that I'd put sodium hydroxide in the lemon tea." Chapter 86. Isn't it the most basic courtesy to smile in front of the big bitch? Sodium hydroxide. Takasugi Toshihiko, you are so cruel. Yuanshin Tobi stopped his hand movements, but his mouth did not stop. His voice was amplified. Sodium hydroxide is a strong alkaline substance. If the patient accidentally eats or inhales a large amount of sodium hydroxide, it will cause poisoning. The patient may experience digestive system symptoms, respiratory system symptoms, skin symptoms, nervous system symptoms, etc. But these are not the most important. People who eat sodium hydroxide will feel quite intense pain. Sodium hydroxide will burn the mouth, throat, esophagus and other parts, which means that even if a person is lucky enough not to die, he will live in pain for the rest of his life. I didn't expect that. You are not very old, but your mind is unexpectedly vicious. In Bihua town, there are thousands of ways to kill a person, whether it is a gun or cyanide. It is not difficult to get something. Even if Yuanshin Tobi said this in front of the police, he still dared to say it. But Takasugi Toshihiko chose the most painful way to send his bride away. The most outrageous thing is that Matsumoto Sayuri just saw Takasugi Toshihiko poisoning. She actually prepared to take the lemon tea and drink it. Before Sayuri Matsumoto could say anything, a large group of people rushed in from outside the door. Inspector Meiju led his detectives, including Matsumoto Kiyanaga, who looked complicated, and Mori Ran and Suzuki Sonoko, who looked shocked, and Conan, who had been standing by and playing a supporting role. Because of his height, Conan really didn't notice what Takasugi Toshihiko had just done. He was just shocked that Toyama Tobi actually saved someone. Conan seemed to have forgotten that he and Toyama Tobi first met at the scene where Toyama Tobi bravely rescued the little girl, caught both the perpetrator and the perpetrator. Toyama Tobi caught Takasugi Toshihiko poisoning someone, and Inspector Meiju caught Takasugi Toshihiko discarding a container for storing sodium hydroxide. The ironclad evidence left Takasugi Toshihiko no room for quibbling. Matsumoto Kiyanaga didn't want to waste time talking to Takasugi Toshihiko, so he waved his hand and asked his men to take Takasugi Toshihiko back to the Metropolitan Police Department. At the end of the scene, only the bride was left in a state of dismay, not knowing what to say or do for a moment. After watching a group of detectives leave, Toyama Tobi ignored the chaotic wedding ceremony and turned back to the bride's lounge. In the lounge, Xiaolan, Sonoko and Sato took turns to try to comfort Sayuri Matsumoto, whose eyes were lifeless. Toyama Tobi thought about it and felt that their comfort was a bit too weak and lacked masculinity. Toyama Tobi walked in front of Sayuri Matsumoto and said nothing. When Sayuri Matsumoto looked up at him in surprise, Toyama Tobi gave her an encouraging smile. Then he went up and hit her hard. Not only Sayuri Matsumoto, who was beaten, was stunned, but everyone else in the room was shocked by Toyama Tobi's operation. They were not shocked by Toyama Tobi's big pussy, but by, if you want to hit her, just hit her. Why do you have to smile before? Exclamation mark. Toyama Tobi has his own understanding of this. After all, Sayuri Matsumoto is the only daughter of Kiyanaga Matsumoto, and he gave her a big pussy to cheer her up. Since it is encouragement, is there anything wrong with smiling before hitting her? Anyway, the effect of Toyama Tobi's big pussy is surprisingly good. Matsumoto Sayuri is no longer distracted at this moment, and instead stares at Toyama Tobi with her eyes spitting fire. It's okay that you took my groom away on my wedding day, but now you give me a big pussy. Do you know how much psychological trauma a big pussy can cause to a girl? Seeing Matsumoto Sayuri's current state, Toyama Tobi nodded with satisfaction. Are you awake? If you are awake, let's talk about business. What to talk about? Matsumoto Sayuri asked, gritting her teeth. Let's talk about manager Matsumoto and how pitiful he is. Toyama Tobi had no intention of talking to Matsumoto Sayuri about Takasugi Toshihiko. The poisoning was confirmed, and it was poisoning the daughter of Metropolitan Police Department manager. Even if the Takasugi family wanted to suppress this matter, they might not be able to suppress it. The evidence is complete. The person was caught in the act, and it was even recorded by the video camera. Takasugi Toshihiko will suffer next. At least Matsumoto Sayuri wants to see Takasugi Toshihiko again, but that may be many years later. So Toyama Tobi is going to talk to Matsumoto Sayuri about her father. Her father is the manager of the first investigation division of the Metropolitan Police Department. If you want to do a favor, you have to do it well. Just arresting Takasugi Toshihiko is not enough. If Matsumoto Sayuri spends her days trying to commit suicide at home afterwards, Toyama Tobi's favor will probably be greatly discounted in the eyes of Matsumoto Kiyoniga. So Toyama Tobi is going to try to persuade Matsumoto Sayuri with words. When you were about to take the lemon tea, didn't you think about your father who raised you all by himself? If you died, Gaoshin Toshihiko would only be in pain for a few months. If he knew the truth, I think highly of him. But what about Manager Matsumoto? After your mother died, Manager Matsumoto didn't remarry and raised you all by himself. If you die, Manager Matsumoto will have nothing. Yuanshin Tobi sneered at Matsumoto Sayuri. What does he think of when you drink lemon tea in front of Gaoshin Toshihiko every day? What first love? A 7 or 8-year-old kid played with you for a few days and fell in love with you. Are you crazy? You added a 20-year filter to Gaoshin Toshihiko, and Gaoshin Toshihiko also added a 20-year filter to your father. From this point of view, you two are really a good match. Facing Matsumoto Sayuri, who was obviously touched, Yuanshin Tobi understood the truth that too much is as bad as too little. Of course, he was not sure if he could enlighten Matsumoto Sayuri. After all, this is a top love brain. In fact, as long as she is not immersed in the pain of losing her first love, it will be fine. But Toyama Tobi just wants to give her a big slap. After saying this, Toyama Tobi kept his fame to himself and gave Sato a look, asking her to continue to stare at Matsumoto Sayuri. Then he left after the matter was done. In the end, Matsumoto Sayuri was sent back to Matsumoto's house by Sato, and he stayed with her until Matsumoto Kiyoniga came home, before saying goodbye and leaving. When Matsumoto Kiyoniga sent Sato out, he hesitated to say something, and finally turned into a heavy sigh at the door. In the entrance, Matsumoto Sayuri's voice suddenly sounded. Are you worried that Officer Sato can't find a boyfriend, Dad? Sayuri. Matsumoto Kiyoniga turned around abruptly when he heard the voice, and a little embarrassment suddenly appeared on his originally ferocious face. Although he has always been pessimistic about that bastard Takasugi Toshihiko, he still couldn't beat his own daughter in the end. In fact, in this regard, few parents can beat their own children. But thinking that his daughter would suffer, or even be in danger, because of him in the future, even if he was blamed and misunderstood by his daughter, Matsumoto Kiyoniga still wanted to protect his daughter. She was the most precious treasure in his life. Chapter 87, Snowstorm Manor and the Perverted Murderer are a better match. So Mr. Matsumoto has reconciled with Officer Matsumoto? In the supermarket, Toyama Tobi asked Takagi next to him, while picking and choosing the things at hand. Takagi already had a lot of bags hanging on him, which was hard for even Takagi himself to imagine. Such a result was actually achieved by a man. Although Takagi was shocked by Toyama Tobi's shopping results, he was still happy to help Toyama Tobi. This brother was reliable and generous. Not only did he give himself credit, but he also helped him to improve his favorability in front of the leader. Not to mention just coming out to carry things, even if he bought these bills. Takagi looked at the price tags at hand and silently dispelled the idea. Can't buy anything at all. As Toyama Tobi's eyes and ears in the Metropolitan Police Department, Takagi did not forget to tell Toyama Tobi about the latest situation of the first investigation division while shopping. It seems a bit inappropriate to use the word reconciliation. Teacher Sayuri has never blamed Manager Matsumoto. Although Manager Matsumoto's behavior of taking the groom away on the wedding day was a bit careless. But after all, it was the groom who poisoned first. Hearing Takagi's words, Toyama Tobi paused, then looked up at Takagi. How do you know that teacher Sayuri has never blamed manager Matsumoto? Of course it's because a few days after the wedding, teacher Sayuri came to deliver lunch to manager Matsumoto. Then has she ever delivered lunch to the investigation section before? Speaking of this, some seniors do know that manager Matsumoto occasionally brings lunch boxes made by his daughter to work. But as for delivering it personally, this seems to be the first time. Toyama Tobi nodded slightly when he heard this, secretly praising Matsumoto Sayuri in his heart. If we ignore her Conan world-class love brain, this teacher Matsumoto is still quite smart. Not only was it possible to tell at first glance that Conan and Kyudo Shinichi were exactly alike, but now he can also stand up and make a statement to dispel many rumors in the Metropolitan Police Department. Although Matsumoto Kiyanaga caught the groom who poisoned him red-handed on the wedding day, the matter was ultimately handled by the 1st Investigation Division. There were too many people in charge, and it was impossible to conceal it. So almost the entire Metropolitan Police Department knew the story of Matsumoto Kiyanaga. There were those who were indignant, and there were certainly those who gloated over the misfortune. Even some of the malicious people might think that the Matsumoto family would not be in turmoil now that the father-in-law arrested his own son-in-law. Sayuri Matsumoto's open and above-board act of delivering meals, which was seen by half of the Metropolitan Police Department, was a statement. A statement that she, the victim, stood with her father. The rumors of the Matsumoto family's unrest were refuted, and even Matsumoto Kiyanaga's superiors in the criminal department would look at Matsumoto Kiyanaga with admiration. Good job, Matsumoto. You are very good at educating your children. Originally, it was a bad thing that everyone talked about behind their backs, but now after such a small operation by Sayuri Matsumoto, it turned into a great thing of true fatherly love and filial piety. Even Toyama Tobi had to sincerely say that it was amazing. Of course, it was limited to one sentence. Because no matter what Sayuri Matsumoto did now, it could not change the fact that she was once a love-brained person. So no matter how awesome the operation of Sayuri Matsumoto was, it always had a comedy filter in front of Toyama Tobi. So, what do you want to buy? Gaomu watched Toyama Tobi buy things that he couldn't understand at all. Toyama Tobi even lingered in the chainsaw area, looking eager to try. Of course, it was fine for other people to buy chainsaws, and it was their freedom to buy anything. But Toyama Tobi bought. Where did he use it after he bought it? Exclamation mark. Gaomu knew that Toyama Tobi was now living in the hotel for a long time, and there was no place in the hotel where Toyama Tobi could use this thing. Toyama Tobi, who had never used a chainsaw before, chose the most powerful chainsaw based on his first impression, and then asked the clerk to install it for him. Then he said to Takagi, "Sonoko is Xiaolan's classmate. She asked Xiaolan to invite me to a party on the weekend. The party is located in the villa deep in the mountains of the Suzuki family." Takagi still didn't understand what the party location had to do with Toyama Tobi's purchase of this mess. Toyama Tobi gave Takagi a look that said rotten wood cannot be carved, and then he said in a gentle and persuasive way, "Where are we? Me, Bihua Town. Yes, then let me ask you, what is the most popular thing in Bihua Town?" Takagi originally wanted to answer Akino Yoko, but this answer was obviously wrong. After thinking about it, Takagi tentatively answered, maybe, detective? Originally, Takagi wanted to say a murder case, but the last dignity of a detective prevented him from saying such a thing openly. He could only settle for the next best thing. It was obvious that Toyama Tobi knew Gaomu's mental journey. When Gaomu answered the question about detective, Toyama Tobi insisted that Gaomu was right. Detective was the most popular thing in Mika. Then what is the most classic environment in detective culture or detective novels that can be related to deep mountains and old forests? Snowstorm Villa. Toyama Tobi gave Gaomu a look that said he is quite knowledgeable, and then slapped the chainsaw in his hand. Since Snowstorm Villa is already there, it's okay for me to cosplay as a perverted murderer to cheer them up, right? This. How should I put it? For example, Toyama Tobi's current equipment. If he really goes in fully armed, he'd better pray that everyone in the villa is fine. Otherwise, if he rushes in like this, He might really scare people into having some problems. Gaomyu looked at the bag in his hand and couldn't help but shudder. For some reason, he suddenly felt a sense of guilt as an accomplice. Gaomyu wanted to persuade Yuan and Tobi. It was not impossible to scare them, but there was no need for the chainsaw, right? Once the chainsaw was turned on, no one could be sure whether you were joking or were going to cut something for fun. Noticing Gaomyu's eyes, Yuan and Tobi said with disdain, "What are you thinking about? This is a souvenir, do you understand? The first time you visit someone, you must bring something practical. Let's say it's in the deep mountains and old forests. What can be more practical than this chainsaw?" Gaomyu was shocked by Yuan and Tobi's brain circuit for a while, but he still hesitated to speak. That is there a possibility? I mean a possibility. Rich people like the Suzuki family live in the deep mountains and old forests simply to stay away from the hustle and bustle of the city and feel the inner peace. Some work, in fact, does not need to be done by people themselves. Facing the enthusiastic Yuan and Tobi, Gaomyu did not say this possibility after all, and finally accompanied Yuan and Tobi to visit the entire mall without complaint. Swimming between tiny feet. Chapter 88. Throw away the map. Throw away the map. Obviously, the thing in Toyama Tobi's hand was definitely not a gift for Suzuki Sonoko. Toyama Tobi and Takagi said that just to tease each other. It was raining and teasing Takagi. They were just doing nothing. Toyama Tobi's thing was prepared for the bandaged monster in Sonoko's villa. The bandaged monster murder case in the villa left a deep impression on Toyama Tobi, and of course he knew the name of the bandaged monster. Takahashi Ryoichi. But Toyama Tobi still liked to call this guy the bandaged monster. There was no special reason, mainly because Toyama Tobi was ignorant when he was a child, and when he suddenly saw this episode, he was really shocked by the appearance of the bandaged monster. This led to Toyama Tobi running to the toilet and running back before going to bed at night during that period of time when he was a child. Even under the bed, outside the window, behind the curtains, in the closet, TV cabinet or bedside table. During that time, Toyama Tobi was afraid that there was a bandaged monster hiding inside. The bandaged monster is just waiting for Toyama Tobi to let down his guard and then jump out to surprise him. Damn it. Toyama Tobi clearly got the script of the loser flow. Once upon a time, Toyama Tobi had no way to deal with the bandaged monster and could only tremble in fear and couldn't sleep at night. But now, Toyama Tobi, who has had a wonderful encounter, is about to reunite with the bandaged monster. The little boy who was not in the eyes of the bandaged monster at all is back. Not only is he back, he also has a chainsaw in his hand. This weekend, no one can stop Toyama Tobi from confronting the bandaged monster, not even Jesus. Toyama Tobi is full of confidence. Toyama Tobi is ready to fight. Toyama Tobi thought hard and never thought that he, a loser flow protagonist, would actually encounter the current situation. Hey, Zyadolin, if nothing unexpected happens, this intersection is the 4th time we have passed by. Are you sure? Are you sure you can still find the villa of Sonoko's family? Toyama Tobi was panting, and Conan beside him was not much better. Although Toyama Tobi knew that Ran Maori had a mysterious sense of direction, and that she had never gotten lost since she was a child, it was all thanks to God. But Toyama Tobi couldn't figure it out. He was clearly staring at the map when Zyadolin was looking at it. How could the three of them get lost while walking? Toyama Tobi and Conan looked at each other with real sympathy. A Sherlock Holmes of the Heisei era and a rising star of the Black Organization. These two are now almost being led to death by Ran Maori. Toyama Tobi unscrewed a bottle of energy drink, gulped down half of it, and then handed it to Conan. Conan didn't dislike it, and took it, and gulped down the other half. In the end, he put the bottle into his small backpack with great manners. It's strange. According to the map, the road just now is completely passable. How could this happen? Ran Maori, who volunteered to lead the way, just wanted to dig out a 3-bedroom and 1 living room on the spot and hide. But unfortunately, she herself is not a civil engineering major, so even if she can, she can't get a 3-bedroom 1 living room house. So she can only stay there awkwardly. Yuan Shenfei resigned herself to throwing the chainsaw on the grass, lifted the cloak on her body, walked to Zyadolin, and took the map. Yuan Shenfei turned the map in a different direction and put it back in Maoliran's hand. The despair on Yuan Shenfei's face and the obvious handwriting on the map reminded Meoli Ran. She just took the map upside down. Did you do it on purpose or accidentally? Yuan Shenfei's face was full of despair. At this rate, when will they reach their destination? Of course, some friends may ask, since Xiaolan found the wrong way the first time, why did Yuan Shenfei take the map? To find the way himself? This is a good question. But for Yuan Shenfei, who can get lost, even if he had a navigation app in his previous life, it is difficult to find a way out in the deep mountains and forests with just a map. Even Conan is the same. If Conan had led the way at the beginning, maybe everything would have gone smoothly. But after Xiaolan got lost for the first time, neither Toyama Tobi nor Conan knew where to go. There was only one way to deal with it now. Toyama Tobi stared at Maori Ran with burning eyes. Toyama, what's wrong? Xiaolan stood obediently with a face full of shame, ready to face Toyama Tobi's rebuke. Then Toyama Tobi took the map from Xiaolan's hand. Then he tore the map to pieces. Toyama, don't be impulsive. Conan rushed up to stop Toyama Tobi's overwhelmed behavior. Unfortunately, his little arms were no match for his thighs, and Conan didn't even reach Toyama Tobi's waist. Without the strength of his feet, he was completely out of his control. After Toyama Tobi tore the map clean, he looked at Xiaolan with a sincere face. Okay, Xiaolan, now the map that's in the way is gone. Use your luck, and follow your feelings. We will reach our destination soon. Toyama Tobi's actions simply shocked Conan and Maori Ran. This world is still based on science. Toyama Tobi's behavior is really too unscientific. Although it seems unreliable, Xiaolan, an honest child, can only take on the responsibility of leading the way again, in order to live up to Toyama Tobi's earnest trust. It's just that the road Xiaolan led last time can still be considered a forest path that can be walked. Then this time, Xiaolan, who followed her feelings, directly led Toyama Tobi and Conan to cross the jungle. Hey, I said you should have a backup map, right? Conan pushed Toyama Tobi's knee and whispered, you don't think Xiaolan's method can really lead us to the destination, right? Conan thought Toyama Tobi must be crazy. Even with a map, Meoli Ran could go wrong. Now the map is gone, and then wading through mountains and rivers, through forests and nets. How can we find the right place? Exclamation mark. Fog, are we really there? Exclamation mark. Just now, Xiaolan led them through a bush, and after passing through the bush with difficulty, there was a suddenly open view. In front of everyone was a valley, and a wooden suspension bridge connected the two sides of the valley. Yuan Shenfei almost burst into tears when looking at the scenery in front of him. Sure enough, if the map had been thrown away at the beginning, we might have arrived by now. It was indeed that damn map that hindered Xiaolan, the destined European emperor, from performing. The cloak that Yuan Shenfei originally wore on his body was already tattered, and the hat on his head had long since disappeared. Only the clown camouflage on his face became bizarre under the stain of sweat. It was quite post-impressionist. Just as Xiaolan and Conan were about to run to the hard-earned finish line, they suddenly saw a man standing on the bridge with his back to them. Xiaolan called out to the other person's back, hello, are you going to the party too? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89. You are the bandage freak. Hearing Rand's voice, the figure of the bandage monster on the bridge suddenly paused, and then slowly showed one eye to Ran and Conan. Yes, it was just one eye, because the rest of the face of this bandage monster was wrapped in bandages. Before Xiaolan and Conan could be terrified by the bandage monster on the bridge, a deafening chainsaw sounded beside them. There is a saying that, when the chainsaw sounds, parents raise you in vain. If the mop taken out of the toilet is a mental attack, then there is no doubt that the chainsaw in Toyama Tobi's hand is a physical attack, or it is a weak attack that can directly break armor. Toyama Tobi raised the chainsaw in his hand with an excitement that Conan had never seen before, and rushed towards the bandage monster on the bridge. Today is a very important day for Takahashi Ryoichi. Takahashi Ryoichi, that is, the bandage monster on the bridge, received an invitation from Suzuki Ayako a few days ago. Since graduation, Suzuki Ayako has organized such a club gathering every year. All the people present were former members of the film club. Originally, Takahashi Ryoichi only regarded this kind of gathering as a way to reminisce about his youth. But this year, Takahashi Ryoichi suddenly discovered a fact that made him despair. The novel Blue Kingdom, published by his high school club members, was successfully adapted into a movie. Takahashi Ryoichi wanted to go to the theater to support his clubmates and contribute to the box office. But he was shocked to find that the plot of the movie seemed so familiar to him. It was exactly the same as the script Sky Color Kingdom, written by Tokumoto Atsuko when she was in school. At this time, Takahashi Ryoichi needed to thank the screenwriter and director of this movie the most, because these conscientious directors really know what the fans of the original like to watch. If a successful adaptation of a literary work wants to be successful, respecting the original work is inevitable. The screenwriter who changes the plot beyond recognition in order to prove his presence is really only worthy of eating rice field. Fortunately, Ikeda Chikako met such a director and screenwriter who respected the original work. After Takahashi Ryoichi discovered the fact that Ikeda Chikako plagiarized, he was furious and furious. Chikako Ikeda, this bitch, became famous and lived a life of luxury with the script, written by Atsuko Tokumoto. As a result, the original author died. As Atsuko Tokumoto's best friend, or more than just a friend, Takahashi Ryoichi decided to do something. Takahashi Ryoichi knew that Suzuki Ayako would invite them to the Suzuki family's villa in the mountains in a few days. The film club gatherings in previous years were held here. Everyone would stay in the villa for a weekend, first to reminisce about the past, and second to talk about topics that everyone was interested in. Chikako Ikeda would definitely not miss this opportunity to show off to them, because in the previous gatherings, Chikako Ikeda showed off the novel she wrote to them. If Takahashi Ryoichi was not interested in novels at the beginning, he would not have read the book Blue Kingdom at all. He probably wouldn't have known so late that Chikako Ikeda plagiarized Atsuko Tokumoto's work. Of course, it's not too late to know now. Takahashi Ryoichi, who has never had any relevant planning experience, quickly designed his own murder plan. Takahashi Ryoichi's overwhelming hatred made him prepare to give Chikako Ikeda the most undignified death. He was going to dismember Chikako Ikeda. Of course, although Takahashi Ryoichi was determined to kill Chikako Ikeda, he was not prepared to bear the corresponding consequences. So he needed to clear himself of suspicion. It just so happened that when he arrived at the Suzuki family's villa, he unexpectedly learned that in addition to them, some of Sunoko's friends would also come to the villa today. Takahashi Ryoichi believed that his alibi should fall on those high school students. At that time, Sunoko did not introduce in detail who her friends were, so Takahashi Ryoichi naturally thought that the people who came should be some high school students. So Takahashi Ryoichi, who arrived at the villa early, waited expectantly for the arrival of Mao Lilin and others. This wait lasted from morning to afternoon and almost evening. Thanks to Takahashi Ryoichi's cleverness, he often ran into the house when waiting for people. Otherwise, the fact that he was not in the room would probably be exposed soon. As Takahashi Ryoichi's patience was exhausted, just when he was finally ready to give up, a conversation came from the jungle not far away. Then a group of two big men and one small man appeared behind Takahashi Ryoichi. He found someone coming, although Takahashi Ryoichi was not sure whether the person behind him was Sunoko's friend. But Takahashi Ryoichi was still prepared to go on with his performance. The people who came to this place were either Sunoko's friends or neighbors of the villa next door. Even if they were neighbors, wouldn't they be able to provide a testimony in his favor when the police came to investigate? Moreover, Xiaolan quickly helped him dispel his doubts, and a sentence "Hello, are you going to the party too?" directly exposed their identities. Takahashi Ryoichi followed the script he designed and gave the few people behind him a wave of turning back to kill. As a result, Takahashi Ryoichi turned his head and saw the man behind him holding up a chainsaw and running towards him excitedly. Words such as domineering and ill-intentioned kept churning in Takahashi Ryoichi's brain. Let alone looking at the buzzing chainsaw in Toyama Tobi's hand, Takahashi Ryoichi felt that the best way to deal with it should be to run away. Damn. I met a real pervert. When Toyama Tobi started, he was at the bridgehead, and when Takahashi Ryoichi started, he was standing in the center of the suspension bridge. So this is a simple pursuit problem. It is known that Toyama Tobi's speed with the chainsaw is faster than Takahashi Ryoichi's, but the speed and position of the two people, and the length and position of the suspension bridge. May I ask, can Toyama Tobi catch up with Takahashi Ryoichi before he leaves the suspension bridge? Because there are too few known conditions and too many unknown conditions, the result cannot be calculated. Toyama Tobi is not sure about this answer, Takahashi Ryoichi is not sure, and even Conan is not sure. But Toyama Tobi does not need to know this answer. I only saw Toyama Tobi come to the suspension bridge, holding up the chainsaw in his hand, and shouting at the bandaged monster who was staggering on the suspension bridge, "Son thief, stand there. Otherwise I will attack this bridge." In order to show his determination, Toyama Tobi also leaned the chainsaw in his hand against the bridge pile on the edge of the cliff. Sure enough, under such a threat, Takahashi Ryoichi on the bridge stopped for a moment and dared not move. In fact, Takahashi Ryoichi could have made a bet on whether Toyama Tobi dared to destroy the suspension bridge in front of others and let him fall directly off the cliff. But Toyama Tobi's performance just now made Takahashi Ryoichi not dare to bet. Because Takahashi Ryoichi was afraid that Toyama Tobi was a real psychopath and he would die before he could avenge Atsuko. No one would atone for dying at the hands of a psychopath. Chapter 90. Young people are in great shape and can fall asleep as soon as they lie down. It's ironic that a murderer who was ready to kill someone would be caught because no one paid for his life. This sounds like a black humor. Takahashi Ryoichi was not just sitting there waiting to die. He kept his eyes rolling, just waiting for a good opportunity to get away. Toyama Tobi would naturally not give him such an opportunity. "Okay, now turn your back to me and slowly back away," Toyama Tobi shouted at the bandaged man on the bridge. Takahashi Ryoichi wanted to pretend that he couldn't hear Toyama Tobi's words, but the sound of sawing wood came from Toyama Tobi's side. Takahashi Ryoichi was still afraid of death, so he could only do as he was told. Takahashi Ryoichi kept backing up on the suspension bridge, and he was getting closer and closer to them. Toyama Tobi gave Xiaolan a look, indicating that Xiaolan would subdue this person as soon as Takahashi Ryoichi entered the control range. Xiaolan was originally most afraid of horror characters such as bandaged monsters, including the smile of the bandaged monster on the suspension bridge just now. It really scared Xiaolan. But Xiaolan was only frightened at that time because the subsequent development was completely beyond Maori-ran's imagination. Although Xiaolan is still a little scared when she looks at the appearance of the bandage monster, it is much better than when her hands and feet were weak at the beginning. Let's do a simple reasoning question. Xiaolan's combat ability is bursting, so why is she still afraid of monsters? Obviously, because physical attacks can't work on ghosts, and because these things can't be killed. So Xiaolan is afraid of them. What about the bandage monster in front of him? This bandage monster was threatened by a word from Toyama Tobi, and was in a dilemma. He could only be a puppet, and be completely controlled by Toyama Tobi. This proves that this bandage monster is still afraid of death. If he is afraid of death, he is not a ghost, and he can be subdued directly by Xiaolan's karate. So Xiaolan doesn't need to be afraid of this bandage monster. So when the bandage monster was getting closer and closer to Toyama Tobi, just when Takahashi Ryoichi planned to take the chainsaw from Toyama Tobi, as soon as he arrived at the bridgehead. As soon as Takahashi Ryoichi stepped on the ground, he felt dizzy. When he woke up again, he saw a ceiling that looked familiar. "Great, Takahashi, you're awake. I'll go call Ayako and the others." Hiroki Kadane, who was fiddling with a camera by the bed, noticed Takahashi Ryoichi woke up and quickly put down the camera and ran outside. As for why Takahashi Ryoichi was sent to his bed, it all started with a scene not long ago. At that time, Suzuki Ayako and Ikeda Chikako were preparing dinner in the kitchen. Suzuki Sonoko was harassing Otamasaru in the living room, and Kadani Hiroki was holding a camera at the kitchen door as a licker. Ikeda Chikako, Otamasaru and Kadani Hiroki were the other members of the club invited by Suzuki Ayako this time. Otamasaru, who had a greasy face, was very much to Suzuki Sonoko's taste. Of course, Suzuki Sonoko, who came from a wealthy family, was actually Otamasaru's hunting target. Unfortunately, Otakatsu knew that, if he dared to attack Sonoko, Suzuki Ayako, who was always smiling with squinting eyes in the kitchen, and seemed to be always so friendly, would definitely teach him a lesson that he would never forget. So Otakatsu could only pretend to be reserved and perfunctory to Suzuki Sonoko. As a little transparent person in the whole club, Takahashi Ryoichi would not notice that there was a person missing in the villa unless someone paid special attention to him. Then Sonoko and Otakatsu in the living room heard a knock on the door at the entrance. Sonoko subconsciously looked at the wall clock and looked as if it was expected. The reason why Xylan came so late was that she got lost again. So Sonoko and Otakatsu went to the entrance together to open the door for Maori-ran. As soon as the door opened, Sonoko saw Xylan's apologetic face and became curious. Even if she was a little late, Xylan shouldn't be so sorry, right? When Toyama Tobi came in, Sonoko knew why Xylan had that expression. This, isn't this Mr. Takahashi? Why is he like this? Sonoko screamed and everyone else in the villa came over, and then Takahashi Ryoichi, who had fainted, was greeted by a strong crowd of onlookers. After an explanation, everyone in the villa learned that Toyama Tobi and his friends had just met Takahashi Ryoichi on the suspension bridge, who was dressed like a bad guy. Then after subduing Takahashi Ryoichi, they uncovered his disguise and found that this person didn't seem to have any injuries on his face. Conan reasoned and determined that this person was most likely to come to the villa to attend a film club party. The reason why he dressed like this was probably to give his classmates some surprises. Now not only is the surprise gone, but even the person was knocked unconscious by Xylan's back throw. At that time, Toyama Tobi patted his chest and said that if they still wanted this kind of surprise, he could help replicate it. When everyone in the villa saw the chainsaw in Toyama Tobi's hand, they waved their hands one after another to express their gratitude for Toyama Tobi's kindness. But they all have weak hearts, so it would be better if Takahashi Ryoichi enjoyed this exciting project alone. Just like that, because Takahashi Ryoichi was knocked unconscious by a high school girl, Otamasaru and Kadaya Hiroki took turns to take care of him in his room. Xylan, who entered Takahashi Ryoichi's room with Suzuki Ayako, apologized to him sincerely. Takahashi Ryoichi was a little dazed for a while, which was not the sequelae of being thrown, but because of the disruption of Toyama Tobi and Xylan. How should he carry out his next murder plan? Exclamation mark. The essence of the murder plan designed by Takahashi Ryoichi is that he needs to make people in the villa think that the bandage monster is an outsider, so as to clear his suspicion. But now, everyone in the villa knows that he is the bandage monster. If he dares to use this plan, he will be identified as the murderer on the spot. Otamasaru in the room saw that Takahashi Ryoichi had not spoken and thought that Takahashi Ryoichi did not want to forgive Malilan. He immediately stepped forward to help Xylan out of the embarrassment and joked to Takahashi Ryoichi, "Takahashi, you won't do that, will you? You were just thrown down by a little girl. I think you really need to exercise." Otakatsu's teasing words gradually made Takahashi Ryoichi sober up. He looked at Otakatsu, who looked like he had kidney deficiency, and he knew what his classmate was up to, isn't it? Just that he has a crush on this one-horned female high school student? As for using me as a foil, I also need to exercise. For this plan, Takahashi Ryoichi started high-intensity exercise 6 months in advance. Otherwise, you wouldn't think that killing people and dismembering bodies doesn't require physical strength, right? If we really talk about exercise, Otakatsu, who looks like he has kidney deficiency, obviously needs more exercise. Chapter 91, Childhood Shadow at Full Power. Having suffered such a heavy blow, Takahashi Ryoichi had no intention of talking to Otamasaru like before. If it was Suzuki Ayako just now, Takahashi Ryoichi could still give some face and stage a reconciliation drama. But who are you, Otamasaru? The same university club can still get together every year after graduation, because the person who arranges this event every year is Suzuki Ayako. Suzuki Ayako's family background can completely crush everyone, and she is the most qualified to say that. I never look at whether others have money when making friends. Anyway, they are not as rich as the Suzuki family. It is precisely because of the suppression of Suzuki Ayako that the annual gathering of the film club can be maintained until now without changing its flavor. It has not become a place for some people to show off themselves. Otomasaru is engaged in the sales of imported cars in a nice way, and in a bad way, he is a car salesman. Everyone present knows each other well. Who doesn't know who? Otomasaru, have you asked my opinion, now that you are using me as a stepping stone? It's the same old saying, I have a key. Do you have a key? How many keys do you have? Takahashi Ryoichi was lying on the bed and started to scold Otakatsu. Otakatsu didn't even react when Takahashi Ryoichi scolded him to the end. No. Didn't Takahashi Ryoichi always accept things as they come? Just looking at Takahashi Ryoichi's appearance, you can tell that this kid has been bullied and excluded in the culture of Japanese schools since he was a child. So Takahashi Ryoichi cherished Tokumoto Atsuko, who really treated him as a friend and even went beyond being a friend. But just before graduation, Tokumoto Atsuko hanged herself. After so many years, Takahashi Ryoichi realized that the culprit who caused Atsuko's suicide was actually someone from their club, and he would meet with this person every year to listen to her bragging about her original novels that were a big hit. All of this should have belonged to Atsuko. Rage has been lingering in Takahashi Ryoichi's heart. His carefully designed murder plan, which he had practiced many times in private, had not even officially started. He was caught by someone, and his disguised identity was directly exposed. Takahashi Ryoichi is now psychologically unbalanced, and what Otakatsu said just now is tantamount to adding fuel to the fire. He simply put himself under Takahashi Ryoichi's gun. At this moment, Suzuki Sanoko in the room looked at Otakatsu with a little bit of strangeness in her eyes. No, what's wrong with you? You were not like this when we were just the two of us in the living room just now. You were quite reserved at that time. How come you, the reserved senior, changed when Xyanalan came? What do you mean? It's obvious that I'm not as good as Xyanalan. In fact, this is a misunderstanding of Sanoko by Otakatsu. He didn't choose May, only ran out of the two options. But originally in this villa, the only option that could make Otakatsu flirt was Xyanalan. It goes without saying who Suzuki Ayako is. If Otomasaru doesn't even dare to touch Sanoko, how can he dare to touch Ayako? As for Aikida Chikako, she is also a popular novelist and screenwriter, and she will not be interested in Otomasaru's superficial pretty boy. In the end, the only one who can make Otomasaru chat without scruples is Xyanalan. Now he has not succeeded yet. Otomasaru's offensive has not yet started. He has just entered the stage of brushing up his favorability, but he was exposed by Takahashi Ryoichi. The situation on the scene was very embarrassing for a while. At this time, Hiroki Kadani hurriedly stood up to make peace. If the villa was full of people from their film club, it would be fine to quarrel a few words. Now there are outsiders like Toyama Tobi. Wouldn't it be a joke for outsiders to quarrel like this? Under normal circumstances, Takahashi Ryoichi would take this opportunity to say it and leave. But who made Hiroki Kadani a dog of Aikida Chikako? Takahashi Ryoichi now hates Hiroki Kadani. He immediately used his great onmyoji skills to attack Hiroki Kadani. The most powerful sentence was the one Takahashi Ryoichi said with a sneer. You don't think that the successful Chikako will really fall in love with you, an ordinary movie magazine editor? No way, no way. Lies are not sharp. The truth is the sharp knife. Even if Hiroki Kadani has 10,000 ways to refute Takahashi Ryoichi, when he saw Chikako Aikida's evasive eyes, he understood that at this time he couldn't even deceive himself. It should be said that Takahashi Ryoichi is worthy of being one of the childhood shadows of Toyama Tobi, and his fighting power is simply extraordinary. Just when Toyama Tobi thought that Takahashi Ryoichi would make persistent efforts and say a few powerful words to Chikako Aikida, Takahashi Ryoichi closed his mouth very restrainedly and thanked her and Suzuki Ayako as if he had no resentment towards Chikako Aikida. Even Takahashi Ryoichi, who was lying on the bed and felt a little dizzy because of the excessively intense communication just now, generously expressed his forgiveness for Xyanalan's recklessness. This made Toyama Tobi realize that the incident in the villa this time might not end so easily. It also made Toyama Tobi realize what kind of indomitable temperament the murderers of Bika Town have. I can't afford to offend them. I really can't afford to offend them at all. Toyama Tobi quietly left Takahashi Ryoichi's room, and Conan hurriedly followed him out. Toyama Tobi asked Conan curiously, "Why don't you follow your sister Xyalan, but come to me as a follower?" According to Toyama Tobi's understanding of Conan, Takahashi Ryoichi just exposed Dota Katsu's sinister intentions, so Conan, the jealous king of East Asia, should stay with Xyalan all the time. Now they actually appear by his side. Toyama Tobi doesn't think that he can compare with Xyalan in Conan's heart. "Do you know them?" Conan asked Toyama Tobi suddenly. "I know them? Are you crazy?" Toyama Tobi touched Conan's head calmly, trying to see if he had a fever. "Look at them. Do they look like they know me? But you know, I do know some gossip about Chikako Aikida." Conan's sharpness was beyond Toyama Tobi's expectations. He was just playing a word game. In fact, Toyama Tobi did know these people. Of course, that was in his previous life. Toyama Tobi, who didn't want to get entangled in this matter, immediately threw out Chikako Aikida as a topic, and sure enough, Conan took the bait. "What do you know?" As expected by Toyama Tobi, Conan was attracted by the gossip from Toyama Tobi and asked hurriedly. Toyama Tobi smiled but didn't answer, just looking at Conan in front of him quietly. Conan, who understood the meaning of Toyama Tobi's eyes, was unwilling, but couldn't resist the curiosity in his heart, and finally presented his bank card to Toyama Tobi. To be precise, it should be a supplementary card of Kudo Yusaku's credit card. Chapter 92. Let's set fire to the Mountain Master. Just as Toyama Tobi was about to take the credit card from Conan, Conan suddenly pinched the card and asked offensively, "Could it be that the merchant collecting the payment this time is still the Tokyo wife?" Listen, Conan felt ashamed just to say this store name. Could it be that someone would walk in without hesitation, and without looking back after seeing these words? A disgrace, a disgrace. Feeling Conan's distrust of him, Toyama Tobi looked very aggrieved. In their line of work, it is important to make guests feel at home. Since Conan raised objections to Tokyo wife, how could Toyama Tobi still use this name to make the boss feel uncomfortable? Don't worry, the one collecting the payment this time must be a serious name. Believe me, Conan. Toyama Tobi's expression now is just like that of the rookie teammate who shouted in the team channel during the game preparation stage that he believed I would definitely win the game. Full of sincerity, Conan half believed and half doubted. He relaxed his grip, but still asked, "Just tell me how much this gossip costs." 1.5 million yen. 1.5 million? You might as well just rob someone. Conan immediately took back the credit card and said to Toyama Tobi with a look of disdain. Toyama Tobi felt quite wronged. "How can you say that? Robbery is illegal. I wouldn't do it under normal circumstances. Besides, you can't get so much money from a normal robbery." Conan suspected that Toyama Tobi had spoken his mind and immediately prepared to reason with Toyama Tobi. What Conan meant by reasoning was really reasoning with Toyama Tobi. Toyama Tobi provided Conan with information about 3 organizations, and only then did he receive 3 million yen from Conan. Why is it that now it costs 1.5 million for just a piece of gossip about Chikako Aikida? Can Chikako Aikida be equal to a half-black organization? At this time, Toyama Tobi was like a conscientious customer service, explaining to Conan, "Conan, the value of our information is not calculated this way. The first organizational information we traded was not bought by anyone except you. So although it is a little more expensive, it is not expensive by much. But this piece of gossip about Aikida Chikako is different. This information can generate different benefits in the hands of different people. So this information will naturally be sold at a higher price. Of course, you can choose not to buy it, right? After all, Aikida Chikako has nothing to do with you. If you don't plan to make a profit from it, I personally don't recommend you to buy this information." Toyama Tobi was sure that Conan was a young man full of rebelliousness. The more he said so, the more curious Conan would be about the information in his hand. Conan did not disappoint Toyama Tobi's expectations. He played a rebellious role and immediately handed over his father's secondary credit card, showing his generosity that all the consumption was paid by Mr. Edagora. Filial piety. To filial piety. Of course, when Conan handed over his credit card, he did not forget to remind Toyama Tobi that the merchant receiving the payment must have a formal name. Toyama Tobi nodded repeatedly to show that he understood. A moment later, Kudo Yusaku, who was in the United States and had a rare early start, saw the consumption bill of his bank card supplementary card at the Japan Air National Airborne VIP Tutoring Studio. How to say it, Shinichi really listened to the advice and did not go to places like Tokyo Housewives again. It's just that he spent 1.5 million in this kind of tutoring class. So what Shinichi said about getting smaller, did it all change? Or was there a part that didn't change? Conan, who was completely unaware of the seriousness of the problem at the moment, was relieved when he saw Toyama Tobi reveal the words Japan Air Asia. This time it was the airline's name. How frivolous could it be? So Conan's little eyes kept urging Toyama Tobi to collect the money and get things done quickly. Toyama Tobi also spoke of the rumors he knew without hesitation. There are rumors from insiders that the work Blue Kingdom by the popular female writer Chikako Ikeda is suspected of plagiarism. After an in-depth investigation by an unknown person named Aoyama, it was found that the object of Chikako Ikeda's plagiarism should be Sky Color Kingdom by her classmate Atsuko Tokumoto in the film club during her college years. With this information, if you operate properly, you can get at least 5 million yen from Chikako Ikeda. I'm sure our writer Ikeda would not want this news to spread to the market. Toyama Tobi looked at Conan, who looked like a carrot, with pity. With Conan's body, it was really impossible to save the day, even if he wanted to. Is this rumor so specific? Conan was probably scared by Toyama Tobi. At this moment, he couldn't believe Toyama Tobi. Toyama Tobi said confidently, of course, otherwise why would it be sold so expensively? Then why don't you ask Chikako Ikeda for money yourself? Conan asked suspiciously, and then remembered the day when he was divided into spoils. Blackmail is a crime. How can you do such a thing yourself? Toyama Tobi gave Conan an encouraging look. That means my work has been done and the money has been received. The next thing is up to you. Aren't you a messenger of justice, Conan? Facing such a naked plagiarism case, you can't just ignore it because no one died, right? Oh, by the way, in fact, there is still a death in this case. Just when Conan was about to turn around and leave, Toyama Tobi suddenly called Conan. By the way, Kit, I have a message for you. The object of Chikako Ikeda's plagiarism, the girl named Tokumoto Atsuko, couldn't accept that her work was plagiarized by her friends. She hanged herself in the school warehouse. After saying these words, Toyama Tobi left the living room leisurely and prepared to go out for a walk. This is the first time that Toyama Tobi has been invited to a rich family's villa for vacation in his 2 lifetimes. Thanks to Miss Sonoko for letting Toyama Tobi, a local dog, feel some upper class atmosphere. When Conan heard that someone committed suicide because of Ikeda Chikako's plagiarism, a not so good premonition came to Conan's mind. Conan immediately thought of the outfit of Takahashi Ryoichi, the bandaged man. At that time, Conan thought that Takahashi Ryoichi just wanted to play a joke on his friends in the villa, but now it seems that it is more than just a joke. Although Conan can't think of what method Takahashi Ryoichi will use to kill people after his identity as a bandaged man is revealed, Conan has a bold idea at this moment. Not long after leaving the back door of the villa, Toyama Tobi, who was strolling in the grove behind the villa, suddenly smelled something burning. He turned around and found a puff of black smoke rolling up from the front of the villa. Then there was a very obvious fire. Someone set a fire! Exclamation mark. Chapter 93 Why should I, an ordinary member, care about the Kadas? As soon as he found the fire, Yuan Shenfei rushed through the back door of the villa to the front door, and then breathed a sigh of relief. One good news, and one bad news. The good news is that this time it was not the Zenjin who set fire to the mountain, and the bad news is that this time it was the Zenjin who set fire to the bridge. The Suzuki family's villa, located in the deep mountains, has 2 ways to the outside world. One is the burned suspension bridge in front of you. The other requires going through the grove from the back door and into the deep mountains. If you are lucky enough not to get lost after crossing a mountain, you may encounter people. If Yuan Shenfei was the only one in the villa, he would have walked out. Even if he took Xiaolan with him, it would not be a big problem. But for the other people in the villa, it is obviously unrealistic for them to walk out of the mountains. Fortunately, the person who set fire to the bridge seemed to have some other thoughts this time, and the telephone line used to connect to the outside world in the villa was not cut. I just don't know whether the Zenjin who set fire to the bridge did not cut the telephone line on purpose or was careless. Yuan Shenfei guessed that he should be deliberately careless. As soon as she found out that the suspension bridge was burned, Toyama Tobi marked Takahashi Ryoichi as the suspect. Although Takahashi Ryoichi had just finished talking foul language, Ran Maoli stayed in his room to look after him out of guilt. Suzuki Sonoko naturally followed her bestie. Besides, if Takahashi Ryoichi wanted to destroy the suspension bridge, he didn't need to use such an obvious method. He could just find an axe to cut it off. It wouldn't be noticeable. Unless the person who destroyed the suspension bridge really wanted the people in the villa to find that their retreat was cut off by humans. Or maybe the person who destroyed the suspension bridge was weak and didn't have enough strength to swing a heavy axe to cut the suspension bridge. Or maybe both. Toyama Tobi subconsciously looked at the girls in the crowd. Xiaolan didn't count, let alone using an axe. Even if Xiaolan really dismantled the suspension bridge with her bare hands, it shouldn't be a big problem. The infatuated Sonoko had been staying with Xiaolan, so she was ruled out of suspicion. Suzuki Ayako has been squinting her eyes. Even the burning of the suspension bridge is not enough to make her open her eyes. Naturally, there is no change in her expression. Finally, it is Chikako Aikida. Toyama Tobi suddenly found that Chikako Aikida actually avoided her gaze with a sense of guilt the moment she met his eyes. Did Chikako Aikida set the fire? That doesn't make sense. Just when Toyama Tobi was confused, he suddenly remembered that there was another person in the villa who couldn't swing the heavy axe. Toyama Tobi's eyes accurately found Conan, who was looking at the suspension bridge in shock in the crowd. It seems that Conan was also shocked by the fire on the suspension bridge. But Toyama Tobi smelled something abnormal from Conan's normal behavior. Conan probably didn't know that Toyama Tobi probably knew him better than most people in the world. Even if Conan has changed a little now. But it's hard to change a person's nature. Those things in Conan's bones can't be changed in a short time. For example, under normal circumstances, Conan should be the first to rush out to investigate such an incident. For another example, Conan should be the first to discover this situation, and he should stand in front of everyone, not in the crowd. Conan's performance is commonplace for other people, but it is the biggest flaw for Conan himself. Boy, where is your usual enthusiasm? Such a big thing happened at the gate of the villa, and you didn't rush out to investigate. You make me think that you have a big problem. At this moment, Conan's suspicion index grew wildly in Yuan Shenfei's heart. But why? Conan usually does something such as rummaging through the owner's home without the owner's permission when investigating the case. Acts such as sneaking into the door and picking the lock in the name of investigation. It can be said that, although Conan's mouth is full of justice and law, his style of doing things is full of ambiguity about the boundaries of the law. The main focus is on the result-only theory. Don't care how I investigate, just say whether the murderer is caught or not. But at least on the surface, Conan is still a bit decent, isn't he? If Conan really started the fire, does that mean Conan doesn't even want this respect anymore? If that's the case, Conan's difficulty will increase greatly. But what does this have to do with Toyama Tobi? He's just a poor guy making a living in the black organization, and he doesn't even have a code name. Is he worthy of worrying about the silver bullet? When Toyama Tobi thought of this, he felt relieved. Well, you get what you pay for. I think both Gin and Rum should understand this principle, right? Giving up useless thinking, Toyama Tobi turned his attention back to Conan, wanting to study what this guy was up to. A group of people returned to the villa in a crowd, and Suzuki Ayako contacted the outside world as soon as possible. After hearing that their eldest and second daughters were trapped in the villa, the Suzuki family immediately said that they would send a helicopter to pick them up. It was about 2 hours before the Suzuki family arrived at the villa. Hearing that someone would come to pick them up, everyone in the villa was obviously much more relaxed. Just when everyone was about to go back to their rooms to rest, two voices suddenly spoke at the same time. "Mr. Toyama, can we talk?" Toyama Tobi stopped in surprise and turned to look in the direction of the voice. One voice came from Takahashi Ryoichi, who looked pale. The other voice came from Ikeda Chikako, who looked tangled. Both realized that the other had said the same thing as themselves and looked at each other with a few traces of suspicion flashing in their eyes. Toyama Tobi, who was called by two people at the same time, was a little puzzled, but after seeing the performance of these two people, he suddenly understood. He looked at Conan meaningfully, smiled and said to Ikeda Chikako and Takahashi Ryoichi, "I guess you two are looking for me for the same thing. In this case, why don't you two talk to each other first? Come to me after you reach a consensus." These two people didn't know Toyama Tobi before he came to the villa. Now that they can call Toyama Tobi at the same time, it is obviously Conan's credit. Toyama Tobi didn't know why they were looking for him, but it was not difficult to guess. Originally, this should have been a problem that Conan threw to Toyama Tobi, but because these two people chose the right time, this problem was passed on to Takahashi and Ikeda by Toyama Tobi. Conan is not a good guy. He just got the information from Toyama Tobi and sold it out to Toyama Tobi the next moment. Yes, this style of doing things is very much like Toyama Tobi, but Conan is still too naive. The first time he used Toyama Tobi's method to deal with Toyama Tobi, Conan left him too much room for maneuver. It seems that Toyama Tobi's suggestion has obviously convinced Ikeda and Takahashi. For a moment, Conan, who was not involved, was shocked. Chapter 94. Learn from the foreigners to defeat them. No, what's the matter? Why don't you play by the rules, old man? Conan's eyes were full of surprise. Conan, who used a skill other than LL for the first time, felt exactly what it meant to be powerless and not have one's wishes fulfilled. Just when Conan was about to say something to make up for it, Toyama Tobi came to Conan and lifted him up from the ground. "Let's go, Conan. Let's get close for these 2 hours." After saying that, Toyama Tobi turned around and took Conan to his room. In the living room, Suzuki Sanako looked at Toyama Tobi's back and raised her hand dejectedly. Originally, Suzuki Sanako wanted to take advantage of these 2 hours to get close to Toyama Tobi. As the saying goes, first time is strange, second time is familiar. It turned out that Ota Katsu, who she had her eyes on at the beginning, was indeed a scumbag, but she didn't believe that her vision would always be bad. It's impossible that someone can find a scumbag every time they look for a boyfriend, right? No way, no way. Unfortunately, before Suzuki Sanako could say the words to keep him, she found out sadly. "I'm not as important as Conan, the little brat, in Toyama Tobi. I'm so angry." Looking at her best friend who has transformed into an angry leader, Xiaolan didn't know what to say for a moment. Is it possible that for an adult male, if he prefers to play with another kid instead of this girl, does it mean that this girl is really not attractive to this man? Sanako, who was full of resentment towards Conan, took Xiaolan to find her sister to complain. Takahashi Ryoichi also had a private chat with Ikeda Chikako, who was not sure whether it would go smoothly. Otamasaru and Kakutani Hiroki sat together in confusion. Toyama Tobi covered Conan's mouth and dragged him into his room. As soon as he entered the room, Conan stopped struggling tactfully. Toyama Tobi looked at Conan with a bad face. "You kid, you took the information from me and then sold me out." Conan knew very well that once he entered Toyama Tobi's room, he would be in a great disadvantage. It would be no good for him to jump too much at this time. A man who knows the times is a hero. This is also one of the lessons Conan learned after suffering losses at Toyama Tobi's hands. In response to Toyama Tobi's questioning, Conan said weakly, "I paid for that information. You also said that I can do whatever I want with this information. Then I didn't ask you to sell me out." Toyama Tobi looked up and down at Conan in front of him and asked puzzledly, "I said, don't you have a problem? The information you bought for 1.5 million is just going to go down the drain. Even if your father is Kudo Yusaku and can earn royalties, it's not enough for you to do this." Toyama Tobi now really wants to explore Conan's mental journey. He really wants to know what Conan is thinking. Then Toyama Tobi heard Conan say the following sentence that made him drop his jaw. "I didn't give them the information for nothing. I charged them." Huh. Facing Toyama Tobi's surprised look, Conan said slowly, "The reason why Mr. Takahashi and Ms. Ikeda were able to receive information from me is because I charged them. They would actually be willing to give money to a little kid like you?" Toyama Tobi has a clear understanding of the bad nature of people. Although Conan talks about detective reasoning all day long, without the tiger skin of Maori Kagoro, Conan's investigation would definitely be difficult. This kind of consulting service with a little extortion nature, Toyama Tobi really couldn't imagine how Conan and those two people could reach an agreement in such a short time. No matter how you look at it, Takahashi Ryoichi and Ikeda Chikako don't seem to be easy to talk to. "Tell me, how did you do it?" Toyama Tobi suddenly became curious, pulled a chair and sat down, and asked Conan. "Do you want to know?" Conan asked Toyama Tobi meaningfully. Toyama Tobi always felt that Conan's expression at the moment looked familiar to him, and suddenly an idea flashed in his mind. Isn't this the expression and words that Toyama Tobi used when he blackmailed Conan? "Good fellow, Conan, you little thing is going to use my skills to defeat the enemy?" Since coming to the villa, some familiar sense of deja vu on Conan made Toyama Tobi feel more and more intense, and at this moment, this familiar feeling of looking in the mirror reached its peak. It's a pity that Conan is not Toyama Tobi after all. The degree of understanding between the two sides is not at the same level and depth. It can be said that Toyama Tobi, through the in-depth understanding of Conan in the previous life for 20 years, has a higher degree of cognition and understanding of Conan than the Kudo couple. But Conan can only say that he has some understanding of Toyama Tobi, but not much. So facing Conan's imitation, Toyama Tobi easily gave a solution. "I don't want to know, if you want to know." Just as Conan was secretly saying the lines with pride, he suddenly felt something was wrong. "What did you say just now?" "I said I don't want to know." Toyama Tobi dragged out the long tone and said to Conan word by word. To deal with people like Conan who have a strong desire to express themselves, if you want to take the initiative in speaking, you can't fall into his rhythm. That is to say, you can't let him express what he wants to express. Conan's current behavior seems to be copying Toyama Tobi's previous successful cases, but in fact it is not. From the fact that Conan always speaks out his reasoning in front of the criminals after solving the case, it can be seen that Conan enjoys this process. Even finding the truth of the cases for the last wave of pretending. So what should Conan want to do most now? What he wants to do most should be to show off his previous operation in front of Toyama Tobi. Unfortunately, Toyama Tobi didn't give him a chance at all. The sentence "I don't want to know" directly choked Conan to death. For Conan, the degeneration from Kudo Shinichi to Conan has greatly curbed his desire to express himself. Now the only people he can talk to freely are Dr. Agasa and his parents. During this period of time, Conan's good friends have not yet appeared. But Conan can't show off to Dr. Agasa and his parents about what happened today, right? After all, Conan is also a decent person. If Toyama Tobi chooses not to listen, Conan really doesn't know who to talk to about this. Observing the slightly broken expression on Conan's face, Toyama Tobi showed his signature business smile, leaned forward and said to Conan, "It's okay if you want me to listen. I find that you are not a person who does business at a loss. As the saying goes, we split it in half when we meet. I, Toyama Tobi, have always been honest and fair, so how about you give me half of the money you earned from Takahashi Ryoichi and Ikeda Chikako?" Chapter 95. Remarks on the release. You are right, bosses. This book will be on the shelves at 12 o'clock noon tomorrow. First of all, I would like to thank all the bosses for their kindness. I have been recommended by the light novel channel all the way, and the number of follow-up reading has reached nearly 2,000. However, since the current environment of Danang is not very friendly to fan fiction, Sanjiang is hopeless this time. I can only blame my bad taste for this problem. I still have to thank all the bosses for their kindness by the way. I also want to thank some bosses whose book reviews I copied. As expected, a mature author must learn to crowdfund to write books. After saying thank you, let me talk about the updates and additional chapters after the shelf that everyone is interested in. On the first day of the shelf, I plan to burst 10 chapters. Because there are no drafts in reserve, I will post 5 chapters at 12 o'clock noon on Friday and rush to write and post the remaining 5 chapters after 12 o'clock. Strive to post all 10 chapters on Friday. Then there will be additional chapters for the first order. Since there are nearly 2,000 follow-up readings, we will add 1 chapter for every 500 first orders, and there is no upper limit. In addition, there are 3 leaders in the new book period. Thanks to Lemonade Boss, Ken Boss, and Hey Boss, each leader will add 3 chapters, a total of 9 chapters. It's not a small number, so I will pay it back slowly. After the book is put on the shelves, 3 chapters will be updated every day, which is 6,000 words. 1 chapter will be added for every 500 monthly votes. The extra chapters after 3 chapters every day are extra chapters, which will be marked at that time. The above are the updates and extra chapters after the book is put on the shelves. Finally, thank you all for your generosity again. I'm in awe of you. Finally, please give me the first order, follow-up order, and monthly votes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96. Those who learn from me will live, those who imitate me will die. Haven't you already received the money for the information? Conan never expected that Toyama Tobi could be so shameless. I have a little secret. If you want to hear it, it's fine if you don't pay. Now I've finally prepared myself mentally, and you're actually asking me for money? Exclamation mark. I'm telling you a secret, and I have to pay you to listen? Exclamation mark. I'm like that big grudge. In Toyama Tobi's eyes, isn't Conan now no different from a big grudge? If this really happened in anime, Conan would have a big grudge sign on his head. In order to prevent Conan from completely collapsing, Toyama Tobi still answered Conan's doubts. Didn't I give you the information? Did you forget that the money and goods were cleared? You praised me for the detailed information at that time. What about this money? Isn't this money for listening to the story? Listen to me, and let me explain the reason to you about this matter. Toyama Tobi approached Conan, and began to fool him. No, he began to reason. Look, Conan, you have finally made some changes that are different from the period of Kyudo Shinichi. You are full of emotions now, and don't know who to talk to, right? Ah. Conan nodded hesitantly. To create a sense of urgency today, you even set a torch on the suspension bridge, right? I will take it as your consent. It is not easy for a primary school student like you to make money from Takahashi Ryoichi and Aikida Chikako, right? You can't talk to Dr. Agasa about this, and you can't talk to your parents. You are too old to go to a club with caring big sisters. Who else can you talk to except me? Conan instinctively wanted to refute, but found himself speechless. Although the last sentence was not serious, Conan really has no one to talk to about his true feelings now. So, you see, you only need to pay half of what you get now to get a perfect tree hole. Young man, why not do it? Conan was moved by what Toyama Tobi said, but it was not really moved. The main thing is that Conan found that what Toyama Tobi said was really right. He really didn't have anyone to whom he could speak his mind. Although Conan didn't know why, he just wanted to tell Toyama Tobi why Takahashi Ryoichi and Aikida Chikako paid him, but suddenly he turned to speak his mind to Toyama Tobi. But Conan instinctively thought that the money had to be spent. What does this feel like? It's like you met a skilled female master in the bath, who was clacking on high heels, and made you shine in every aspect. After a set of standard procedures, she asked you if you wanted some specialties. Would you refuse at this time? As long as your wallet allows, you won't refuse. For example, you went out to sing with your friends, and then picked a high quality fruit plate lady. You are like high mountains and flowing water looking for soulmates. After eating the fruit plate, the lady asked you if you wanted to have a midnight snack. Do you want to eat? Do you want to eat? That is, Conan has never eaten or seen it, and doesn't know the skilled female master and the lady who loves to eat fruit plates. Otherwise, he would never fall into Toyama Tobi's evil trick. It's a pity that young people have to pay for their youth. After Yuan Shenfei's persuasion, Conan was successfully misled into spending. Half of the money he just earned was put into Yuan Shenfei's wallet before he even had time to warm it up. Yuan Shenfei stood up and walked to the door and said to Conan, "Wait a moment." Then he ran to the kitchen downstairs to find melon seeds, drinks, and mineral water, put them on a tray, and took them back to the room. "Please." Yuan Shenfei signaled Conan that he could start. Looking at the pile of snacks in front of him, Conan blinked. "No, I don't actually need to eat these. What are you talking about?" Yuan Shenfei looked at Conan strangely. "These are for me. This is yours." Yuan Shenfei put a bottle of mineral water in front of Conan, indicating that if he said he was tired, he could drink water to moisten his throat. The mineral water was held in Conan's hand. He always felt that he seemed to have met a wine tout today. After Conan's narration of this and that, Yuan Shenfei understood. "That is, you first went to Sinoko's sister to find out the specific situation of Tokumoto Atsuko. Then, based on what Sinoko's sister said about the best relationship between Takahashi Ryoichi and Tokumoto Atsuko at school, you determined that he dressed up as a bandage monster for another reason. Then you ran to Takahashi and told him that I also knew that Aikida Chikako was suspected of plagiarism. Then you ran to Chikako Aikida and told her that there were two people who knew about her plagiarism. One was me, and the other was unknown. In the end, you asked them for 800,000 yen each, in order to urge them to come and cause me some trouble as soon as possible. You even set fire to the suspension bridge, just to make Sinoko's sister call for help to create a sense of urgency for them, so that they would come to me and try to cause me some trouble. Where's the money? Aikida Chikako might have so much cash on her, but what about Takahashi Ryoichi? He's an ordinary employee. Can he take out so much money at will? There is no bank for him to withdraw money. I won't talk about how many complaints Conan has about these things. Let's talk about the money first. Conan simply took out 2 IOUs, and Toyama Tobi took one, and looked at it, and immediately laughed. He said, how could Conan get such a sum of money from 2 adults with just a few words? So these 2 people signed an IOU for Conan? The most interesting thing is that the person they borrowed money from was not Maurika Goro, not Edagora Conan, but him, Toyama Tobi. Hey, Conan's operation really seems like Toyama Tobi takes it upon himself to become Sasei Shinichi's agent. No wonder these 2 people came to him the first time. Because Conan and Toyama Tobi came together, Takahashi and Aikida naturally put them on the same side. The person who borrowed money on the IOU was Toyama Tobi, which naturally deepened their trust. If these 2 IOUs appear in Toyama Tobi's hands, it proves that what Conan said is true. If it weren't for the 2 adults asking Conan to get the IOUs back, it would be even easier. But the problem is that Toyama Tobi put the IOU aside and asked Conan seriously, "I have a question, kid. Why did you do this? Or what do you want to achieve? Purpose?" Conan, who was originally talking non-stop, suddenly got stuck when he heard Toyama Tobi's question, and then fell into a long period of contemplation. In fact, Conan has the answer to this question, and Toyama Tobi also has the answer. It's just that Conan is ashamed to speak out because of some concerns, but Toyama Tobi doesn't care so much, and said to himself, "You probably did this just to give me some trouble. That is not even difficult. Why? To vent your grievances a little? Burn the suspension bridge to prove to me that you have the courage to burn your boats? Do you want me to tell you what I would do if I encountered such a situation?" Toyama Tobi turned on the gold metal lecturer mode. Chapter 97. Your punch was not fierce enough. Without waiting for Conan to react, Toyama Tobi had already started teaching mode, raised his finger and said, "First of all, before I do something, I will think about what my purpose is. Based on my goal, I will then choose a way to solve the problem. If I were in your position, facing a person who knows a secret that is enough to threaten the safety of me and the people around me, and is in a hostile state, I will definitely do everything I can to prevent him from speaking again." Toyama Tobi was like a kindergarten teacher at this time and asked in a garden digging tone, "Then who in the world is the best at keeping secrets?" Dead people. It's not that Conan can't think of other answers, but that this answer is the most correct answer for Toyama Tobi. Yes, it's a dead person. So I want to turn this villa into his burial place. Toyama Tobi nodded with satisfaction and drew open the curtains of the room. If I were you, I would not do such a small thing this time. I would tell Chikako Ikeda right away that someone knows her secret and intends to make it public. This person would make an appointment with the reporter to meet as soon as he returns to the city. Then I would find Takahashi Ryoichi and tell him that someone saw through his murder plan and was going to use his plan to kill him in collusion with Chikako Ikeda. Afterwards, Chikako Ikeda would reward him with a large sum of money and pay her hush money regularly. How could Takahashi believe such a thing? Human nature has always been selfish, and Conan, who has seen many murders, understands this even more. Could Chikako Ikeda allow someone to keep sucking her blood like a leech? It doesn't matter whether Takahashi believes it or not, as long as he is unbalanced enough in his heart. The original author and his friend can only hang themselves in a dark utility room, but the plagiarist can live a life of debauchery openly. There are even people who commit murder for her dirty money. The anger, jealousy, and imbalance of jealousy in his heart will destroy all his rationality and drive him crazy. Then you need a fire. Yuan Shenfen's eyes passed through the glass and fell on the deep mountains and old forests in the distance. It's not enough to just burn down the suspension bridge. We have to set the back mountain on fire as well. It would be best if the fire could kill those who know my secret. Even if they can't be killed, the people in the villa will become uneasy, restless, and anxious. This will reduce their rationality, weaken their judgment, and they will do something that goes against common sense. Toyama Tobi turned around and looked Conan in the eye. For example, Ikeda Chikako will try to kill me from behind and make me, the insider, shut up forever. For example, Takahashi will kill me, the biggest unplanned threat, first. Even if these two people fail, and I happen to survive the mountain fire, you can still mix in the subsequent rescue team, find me who is in a bad condition, and put an end to it yourself. Look, the same person, the same arson, facing the same situation. Look at what you have done. Toyama Tobi angrily taught the unpromising Conan a lesson. You've wasted so much time talking, and you didn't even disgust me a little. What do you mean by burning your boats? You're just playing house. Yuan Shenfen patted Conan on the shoulder, left Conan alone in the room, and opened the door to leave Conan a quiet space for thinking. It is obviously not feasible to deal with the black organization with Conan's naive ideas in his previous life. If it weren't for the help of Brother Gin, as long as there was a loyal wine who knew Conan's identity, he would be killed by the brother. Conan doesn't know how many times he has died. Pisco, tequila, bingo. There is not much alcohol in the water, and the brother is still purifying the tap water. Otherwise, why is Gin the only one in the entire organization working overtime all day long? Those who can work have been killed by him. If he doesn't work overtime, who will? He deserves it. Yuan Shenfen told Conan these things not to let Conan learn from him, and Conan can't learn it. But the spirit can still be learned. For example, in the Robiga Paradise, since Kudo Shinichi saw that gin and vodka were not right, why didn't he let the police search them while the police were there? Before reasoning to find the real culprit, is it difficult to let the police search the two suspects, gin and vodka? If he really did that, why would Kudo Shinichi be hit by his big brother later? Of course, Kudo Shinichi might have been shot on the spot. But it doesn't matter, Conan will still be online after 6 years. While Conan was thinking about his life, Toyama Tobi walked around the villa. After confirming that there was no one in the corridor, he came to the door of Takahashi's room. After listening to confirm that there was no sound inside, Toyama Tobi turned to the door of Ikeda Chikako. He leaned over the door and listened carefully. After confirming that there was a fierce but low-pitched argument in the room, he was relieved. Conan's request for the IOU from these two people did leave some small tales for Toyama Tobi. Just like when Conan grabbed Toyama Tobi and said he was a member of a criminal organization, the police didn't believe him. If one of these two people really died, and the other one was interrogated, and said that he had written an IOU to Toyama Tobi, no one would believe Toyama Tobi's statement that it was Conan's personal behavior. So these two people either live together or die together. But if the two of them are alive, it will be a hidden danger for Toyama Tobi, and Toyama Tobi doesn't like to leave hidden dangers for himself. But the number of people killed by Toyama Tobi in self-defense in a short period of time was too high. If these two people were put together, anyone with a discerning eye would think something was wrong. So these two people can't die at the hands of Toyama Tobi. Under normal circumstances, even if Chikako Aikida's buffs are fully applied, it may not be enough for Takahashi to beat alone. But it doesn't matter, we have the great balance master Maolilan. Maolilan threw Takahashi to the same level as Chikako Aikida with a back throw. Once these two people really start fighting, it is really hard to predict who will win and who will lose. Toyama Tobi likes such evenly matched opponents. As the quarrel between the two gradually became louder, they finally started fighting. Thanks to the fact that the Suzuki family's villa was built without cutting corners, the sound insulation of each room is quite excellent. It was only when Toyama Tobi was standing outside the door that he heard some obvious noises. He had to thank the two of them for not choosing Takahashi's room as the place for the fight. Because there were people living in the rooms to the left and right of Takahashi, no matter how good the sound insulation was, it was inevitable that the sound and vibration would be transmitted to the next room. There were not so many concerns about Aikida's room. As long as the two were not stupid enough to open the window and plot loudly, no one would notice the movement here for a while. After a few seconds, the room suddenly became quiet. Chapter 98. The old man came to the door. Chikako, Takahashi, what are you doing? We are leaving. Otomasaru and Kadaya Hiroki banged on the door, but Takahashi and Aikida in the room didn't respond at all. The helicopter sent by the Suzuki family to pick up Ayako and Sonoko has arrived. They will first take the people in the villa to the outside world in batches, and then the Suzuki family will send them away in their cars. The people were invited by Suzuki Ayako, so they will naturally be responsible for sending them away safely. But the problem now is that the helicopter has been at the villa for a long time. Takahashi and Aikida seem to have not heard it. Otomasaru and Kadaya Hiroki volunteered to go upstairs and ask them to come down together. I said, maybe they are in trouble? Otomasaru's expression was obviously not very good. First, the suspension bridge in front of the villa was burned down, and now the helicopter made such a loud noise, plus the two of them knocked on the door. Even if these two people slept together inexplicably, they should have woken up by now. Otomasaru's speculation made Kadaya Hiroki anxious. Although Kadaya Hiroki had secretly sworn in Otomasaru's room that he would never be a dog to lick Aikida Chikako again in this life. But dog licking is a habit. Perhaps the goddess's indifference at a certain time will make the dog calm down and swear not to be a dog. But it only takes a WeChat, a phone call, or even a look. Some unfortunate people with weak wills will repeat the same mistakes. It is really hard to say whether they are determined or not. The instinct of many years still made Kadaya Hiroki hand over his luggage to Otomasaru, then step back a few steps and start hitting the door. After hitting it 5 or 6 times, the locked door was finally knocked open. A strong smell of blood came to his nose. The smell made Kadaya Hiroki feel like he had entered a slaughterhouse workshop. Our facts have proved that when facing a murder scene that suddenly appeared in front of you, no matter whether you are a man or a woman, you have to scream. If someone didn't scream, it would prove that the scene was not tragic enough. Conan finally recovered and rushed upstairs as soon as he heard Hiroki Kadaya's scream. Then the others followed suit and rushed upstairs in the spirit of watching the excitement. When they arrived at Chikako Aikida's room, they found that Takahashi and Aikida, who were still alive and kicking more than 2 hours ago, were now dead in the room. The murder weapon was a Western-style kitchen knife stolen from the kitchen. Takahashi had several deep knife wounds on her body that could be seen to the bone. It seemed that she died of excessive blood loss. Then came Chikako Aikida. She was stabbed in the vitals and died with one knife. It can only be said that both Takahashi Ryoichi and Chikako Aikida are authentic old-timers. Although they have never practiced it, they are really talented in how to take a life. Conan found Toyama Tobi in the crowd. Facing Conan's questioning eyes, Toyama Tobi spread his hands. This incident really has nothing to do with him. At most, Toyama Tobi was just making sure that the two people really fought and then watched coldly and did nothing to help. But who really let these two people stay in the same room? Obviously it was Conan, of course. We have to thank Xiaolan for this. After a back throw gave Takahashi a negative buff, he was almost powerless to resist Aikida's subsequent attack. The wounds on his body are the best proof. Of course, Takahashi is not an easy person to deal with. Seeing that he was about to die, Takahashi burst out his potential and muttered "Dunzi," and then pounced on Aikida to snatch the kitchen knife from her hand. After hitting Chikako Aikida's vitals with one blow, she died of excessive blood loss. This is the final conclusion given by the forensic personnel of the Gunma Prefecture Police Headquarters after investigating the scene. Although everyone in the villa felt that this conclusion was a bit absurd, they had no objection, including Conan. Because Conan did not find any traces of other people in the room. Think about it, Conan. Impulse is the most luxurious thing for you. This is the last gift from Toyama Tobi to Conan before parting. After returning to Tokyo from Gunma Prefecture, Toyama Tobi was ready to go back to the hotel for a good rest. As soon as he returned to the hotel, Toyama Tobi was stopped by the hotel front desk. "Mr. Toyama, please wait a moment," the pretty front desk lady called Toyama Tobi with a blush on her face. Toyama Tobi naturally didn't have the ability to make people excited at first sight, and he could see that the blush on the front desk lady's face was caused by excessive excitement. This kind of excitement was like a fan seeing a living idol. Toyama Tobi remembered that the front desk lady didn't seem to have the habit of chasing stars on weekdays, and she just read mystery novels in her spare time. In the world of Conan, a world with a strong atmosphere of mystery, such a habit can only be said to be commonplace. Toyama Tobi stopped and looked at the front desk lady curiously. "What's the matter?" "It's like this. A guest asked me to pass on a meeting invitation to you. This is his business card." The front desk lady took out a business card and handed it to Toyama Tobi solemnly. She looked serious, as if she was handing over some treasure. Toyama Tobi was also affected by the mood of the receptionist. He smiled and straightened his clothes, then took the business card solemnly. Seeing Toyama Tobi imitating her, the receptionist was embarrassed and returned to her work as if escaping. However, no matter how she fanned her red face, it was difficult to fan away the heat in her heart. "Let me see who is so evil." Toyama Tobi took the business card curiously and looked at it carefully. "His Kudo Yusaku?" Kudo Yusaku's business card is very simple, with only the words Kudo Yusaku, a mystery writer, and a phone number. Toyama Tobi was not surprised at all that Kudo Yusaku could accurately find where he was living now. It was not a secret that he lived here. Most of the detectives in the first investigation section knew that Toyama Tobi lived in the hotel. With the relationship between Kudo Yusaku and the police, it was not difficult to find out his address. What surprised Toyama Tobi was that he did not expect Kudo Yusaku to come back so soon. In the original work, the first time the Kudo couple returned to Tokyo was a long time after Conan became a small child. It can only be said that Conan has a big heart, Dr. Agasa also has a big heart, and the Kudo couple has an even bigger heart. If it were someone else, the parents would have rushed back as soon as their children became small. So, what kind of way and attitude should be used to treat Kudo Yusaku, the ceiling of the reasoning level in the Conan world? It is indeed a matter of karma. Some time ago, Toyama Tobi made Conan so entangled that he could not fall asleep in the middle of the night. As soon as Kudo Yusaku came back, Toyama Tobi felt the same entanglement that Conan had at the beginning. Toyama Tobi did not plan to meet Kudo Yusaku today. Facing such a person, he needs to adjust his state. No wonder the receptionist was so excited. The influence of Kudo Yusaku is really unfair. Chapter 99, The Disaster of Rejuvenation. 2-21 Bikacho, Tokyo. Kudo House. This is the place where Yusaku Kudo and Toyama Tobi agreed to meet. Yusaku Kudo invited Toyama Tobi to visit him. In the morning, Toyama Tobi had enough food and sleep, adjusted himself to the best state, and then dialed the number on Kudo Yusaku's business card. On the other side of the phone, Yusaku Kudo seemed to be looking forward to this meeting and said that he was living at home now. Toyama Tobi can come to the house at any time. With the souvenirs prepared by the hotel for the visit, Toyama Tobi came to Kudo's house. This is a pilgrimage site that all Conan fans don't want to miss, of course, if they can choose. Toyama Tobi would rather go to the Robiga Paradise, the place where Kudo Shinichi was hit by a club, to make a pilgrimage. That place is much more memorable than this. Mr. Toyama, welcome. Walking into the yard of Kudo's house, Toyama Tobi found that Yusaku Kudo was standing on the steps at the door to welcome him. Kudo Yusaku's image is not much different from that in the anime. His short black hair is a subtle and mature version of Conan's hairstyle. He has a thick mustache, a wide jaw, and prominent cheekbones. He wears a pair of square black full-frame glasses on his nose and is dressed in casual clothes. He exudes a strong bookish air, but in the bookish air, one can detect a bit of sharpness that is well hidden. Mr. Kudo, I have heard of your name for a long time. Yuan Shinfu had to admit that he was indeed inferior to Kudo Yusaku in temperament when he first met him, but there was nothing he could do about it. This kind of temperament in Kudo Yusaku required time, wisdom, and experience to accumulate. Yuan Shinfu's current temperament revealed that he was a chaotic and neutral fun person. Please come in. Under the leadership of Kudo Yusaku, Yuan Shinfu walked through the entrance of the Kudo family, through the living room, and came to the spectacular circular study of the Kudo family. Although he had seen the study of the Kudo family twice in anime in his previous life, he was in the shoes of this private study with more than 10,000 books. Toyama Tobi couldn't help but admire. It's really spectacular. Facing Toyama Tobi's praise, Kudo Yusaku just smiled implicitly and didn't say anything. After personally pouring coffee for Toyama Tobi, Kudo Yusaku took the lead. Mr. Toyama, can I call you that? For people like us, names are just titles. It doesn't matter what Mr. Kudo wants to call me. Toyama Tobi said nonchalantly. After all, this name is not his real name, but in this world he is indeed called Toyama Tobi. Toyama Tobi heard the implication of Kudo Yusaku. Since Kudo Yusaku invited him to meet, he must have done his own investigation. Regardless of how much Rum's second brother disguised himself for this identity, Toyama Tobi didn't think he could hide it from Kudo Yusaku. Kudo Yusaku's words just now were to show his ability and let Toyama Tobi realize that he, Kudo Yusaku, was different from Conan, the greenhorn. Secondly, it was also to take some initiative in the conversation. In Kudo Yusaku's opinion, Toyama Tobi's position is not clear after all. Although he knows Conan's most core and deadly secret, he has not done anything too outrageous. To Kudo Yusaku, what Toyama Tobi did to Conan can basically be regarded as a small fight. This young man is still a little reserved. Do you believe that the couple playing with their son is more exciting than Toyama Tobi? Then why don't we talk about some direct topics? Kudo Yusaku put down the coffee cup in his hand and prepared to get straight to the point. Since meeting Toyama Tobi, Kudo Yusaku has been observing him. In the end, Kudo Yusaku concluded that getting straight to the point is a good choice, so he said directly, "Of course, please." Toyama Tobi signaled Kudo Yusaku to start. Mr. Toyama is from the Black Organization? Just an ordinary member. Ordinary members mean it's the slightly more senior cannon fodder in the organization. Of course, I may also be considered senior among the senior cannon fodder. In the Black Organization, if you don't get a code name or become a cadre, you will always be cannon fodder. Mr. Toyama doesn't seem to be very willing. Not really. As a job, the compensation given by the organization is quite generous. It's not easy for someone like me to find a job with such a good salary in a big city like Tokyo. No, it should be said that it's as difficult as ascending to heaven. Toyama continued to reveal some of his own personality in the conversation. Of course, such a personality cannot be said directly. People like Kudo Yusaku will not believe it if it is said too directly. For people like them, they only believe in what they have investigated or deduced. I see. Kudo Yusaku nodded, not knowing what he understood, and then suddenly changed the subject. Conan has been taken care of by Mr. Toyama during this period. You should thank me for that. Toyama Tobi accepted Kudo Yusaku's tentative thanks calmly, and then began to gradually take control of the conversation. Do you know what it means? To change from Kudo Shinichi to Edogawa Conan? What? Kudo Yusaku's eyes flashed, and he realized that there seemed to be some problems with the information in his hand. Shinichi taking poison and returning to childhood is indeed a horrifying situation. Could the situation be worse? Toyama Tobi said meaningfully, I told Conan that he took the poison developed by the organization because he could only accept such an explanation at the time. With his impulsive personality, telling him the truth would harm him. Kudo Yusaku's expression became more and more serious, and his eyes became more and more elusive. In other words, rejuvenation is not an accidental product of the poison, but Toyama Tobi took over the conversation from Kudo Yusaku. It is the poison that is the byproduct of the anti-aging and rejuvenation research. It's just that Conan's appearance just corresponds to the original purpose of this research. Mr. Kudo, do you know what this means? This means that your organization is actually researching the technology of rejuvenation, and it succeeded. Unlike Conan, Kudo Yusaku knows too well what rejuvenation means to some people. In order to save their own dying lives, the group of old people will definitely not mind letting some of the black organizations clean up their names. At least the scientists who study drugs must be in their hands. Then there is Conan, the only known successful case of rejuvenation so far. Conan will definitely not die, but the fate of the top-level white mice in the laboratory is already doomed. The first reaction that emerged in Kudo Yusaku's mind was to take Conan away quickly and leave Japan, a place of right and wrong. Go to the United States, Canada, or the United Kingdom. Anyway, no matter where he goes, Kudo Yusaku can get along. Seeing his thoughts, or rather anticipating his thoughts, Toyama Tobi said lightly, Conan doesn't know enough about our organization, Mr. Kudo. Our organization is a multinational organization. This means that we have branches in many countries in the world. By the way, I heard that you have a good relationship with the FBI in the United States. I just finished writing this chapter. I'm going to have a meal and come back to continue writing. Chapter 100. The Kudo family's original intention remains unchanged. That's true. Kudo Yusaku admitted without unnecessary modesty. I do have some connections in the FBI, and not only in the FBI, but also in Interpol. Toyama Tobi nodded. He had to admit that Kudo Yusaku's network of contacts was not ordinary wide. But for the black organization, leaving Japan for the United States is basically equivalent to leaving the organization's branch and then running to the headquarters. Don't you see that in the black organization's theatrical version, the M13 is an Apache attack helicopter, the M20 is a V-22 Osprey transport helicopter, and the M26 is a submarine in the sea. It's impossible that these big guys were made by the black organization in Japan with their bare hands. Toyama Tobi certainly can't talk about things that haven't happened yet, but Toyama Tobi can talk about what has happened. The FBI once sent many undercover agents to the organization, trying to infiltrate the upper echelons of the organization and steal the organization's secrets. But only one succeeded in obtaining a code name and becoming a cadre. The only successful one was unfortunately dragged down by his teammates, and his identity was exposed during an operation, and he fled Japan in a hurry. As far as I know, there are still many undercover agents in the organization who have not been found, including agents from well-known intelligence agencies such as the Japanese Public Security Bureau, the British MI6, and the American CIA. Toyama Tobi's meaning is very clear. I know that you, Kudo Yusaku, have a wide network of contacts, but it's of no use. Conan is not as safe as being in Japan when he goes abroad. After all, there are always more undercover agents in the Japanese branch of the organization than in other places, so Mr. Toyama, do you suggest that Shinichi stay in Japan? Kudo Yusaku heard the implication of Toyama Tobi and looked at Toyama Tobi unexpectedly. Toyama Tobi waved his hand. It's not that I suggest Conan stay, but are you sure you can take Conan away? A high school student of his age has just lived with his childhood sweetheart. Then you have to cruelly separate them and even prevent them from contacting each other in the future. Unless Conan and his family completely hide their identities after leaving Japan. Otherwise, if the organization's research is exposed one day, Conan will still be found. Besides, it is impossible to completely cut off the contact between Conan and Xyanalan. Even if Kudo Yusaku really takes Conan away by force, Conan will probably find an opportunity to sneak back to Japan in the future. At that time, it seems to be no different from staying in Japan. Kudo Yusaku thought for a long time and finally had to admit that Toyama Tobi was right. Want to take Conan away from Japan, not to mention the risks after leaving. Conan himself will definitely not take the initiative to leave with them, and the Kudo couple cannot pack up the Mori family together. What will happen then? Although this is the case, I still want to try my best. Kudo Yusaku suddenly smiled, as if he thought of something interesting. Toyama Tobi noticed a flash of narrowness in Kudo Yusaku's eyes and immediately recalled it. In the original work, the Kudo couple had just returned to Japan and played with their children. Could it be that the couple still didn't give up this idea under such circumstances? Well, this is not forgetting the original intention. Facing Kudo Yusaku, who seemed to be eager to play with the children, Toyama Tobi knew that this meeting was about to come to an end. Before preparing to say goodbye and leave, Toyama Tobi finally made a suggestion to Kudo Yusaku. Mr. Kudo, if you have time and ability, make an identity for Conan. Conan is still an illegal resident now. It will be very troublesome if he is noticed by someone with ulterior motives. Toyama Tobi's words can be regarded as a reminder to Kudo Yusaku. In his previous life, Conan relied on smuggling whenever he went abroad. Fortunately, there are no ID cards and household registration books in Japan, otherwise Conan would be exposed on the first day he moved into Xiaolan's house. After being reminded by Toyama Tobi, Kudo Yusaku immediately realized the seriousness of the situation and raised his coffee cup to Toyama Tobi with gratitude. Mr. Toyama, I feel your kindness. So let's talk about something cheesy. What can I do to help you? Kudo Yusaku was so sensible that Toyama Tobi nodded repeatedly. What's the fear of cheesiness? Toyama Tobi likes cheesiness. The more cheesy, the better. I heard that Mr. Kudo has a good relationship with the police. Kudo Yusaku nodded. I heard that Mr. Toyama has a good relationship with the investigation section 1. Yes, but it is limited to the investigation section 1. Toyama Tobi nodded and revealed his request. What I want to ask is, does Mr. Kudo have friends in the Public Security Bureau? Speaking of the Public Security Bureau, I do have a few friends in the Public Security Bureau, but we haven't contacted them for a long time. Why don't I contact them again and introduce them to Mr. Toyama then? Okay, then I'll wait for Mr. Kudo's good news. Toyama Tobi then also raised his coffee cup, clinked glasses with Kudo Yusaku, and drank the coffee in the cup. After Toyama Tobi left the Kudo residence completely, Kudo Yukiko, who had not appeared until now, entered the study and asked Kudo Yusaku worriedly, "Honey, is Shin-chan really in such a dangerous situation?" Obviously, the conversation between Toyama Tobi and Kudo Yusaku was heard word for word by Kudo Yukiko. As a mother, she is naturally worried about the safety of her second-year son. Maybe it's more dangerous than we thought. In front of his wife, Kudo Yusaku didn't need to be tense. He sighed and said weakly, although Kudo Yusaku is the ceiling of reasoning and has an unimaginable network of contacts, but he is really powerless to the dangers that happened to Conan. If Conan had provoked an ordinary criminal organization, then both the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department and Interpol would be enough to deal with these dangers. But Conan was involved in the trouble of the black organization. Not to mention Interpol. Wouldn't the FBI undercover be kicked out? The black organization was not something that the couple could handle for the time being, so Kudo Yukiko quickly focused her attention on Toyama Tobi, who had just come. Honey, you said Toyama Tobi was not the real identity of that young man. Did you see anything when you met just now? I think I roughly know the situation of that young man. Kudo Yusaku nodded. Returning to the field of observation and reasoning, Kudo Yusaku was no longer as powerless as before, and the whole person was confident and full of charm. I guess that young man should have been an undocumented black household, and then he was recruited by that organization, which gave him his current identity. As for his position, I think he would help whoever wins. But he is not stingy with his initial investment. What do you mean? Kudo Yukiko didn't quite understand. The two of them had always had a clear division of labor for this kind of brain-stimulating action, and it all belonged to Kudo Yusaku. The information just now was his initial investment in me, and helping him connect with the public security was the reward he wanted. He wants to join the public security? Kudo Yukiko was shocked and felt that Toyama Tobi was a little whimsical. Even if the police recruit people casually, they can't let a person of unknown origin join them. Even if there is Kudo Yusaku's face, it won't work. What's more, Kudo Yusaku doesn't necessarily have such a big face in the police. Fortunately, Kudo Yusaku denied his wife's crazy thoughts. Continue. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.